We'll see how long. We'll see how long before he fucks around.
Ah,
Then we're getting right in. And
we're getting right into it. You're still the
long
woman
day.
king.
You saw the Woman King?
No, I said you're still the woman king.
Oh, Paul, I left it open. Come on, open it.
We
There you
should
go. Fucking
we should
hell.
probably change that to the theme of this episode. Your name.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let me just pull up my things. Not a whole lot of news.
Yeah. I
Um,
was gonna see if we could find anything.
besides that, Cocaine
Anything.
Bear's upcoming,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably your most anticipated film.
This might be my most anticipated film of all time.
I mean, there's
We're
there's
only. We are only 22 days away from this.
there's that James Gunn said that the new Flash movie may be the greatest superhero movie ever made.
Yeah, I mean, if he said it was the worst superhero film ever made, that wouldn't get anybody in the seats, would it?
Alan Richardson and six more join Henry Cavill's led World War II movie. Alan Richardson, Henry Golding.
I don't know what that is. What's it called?
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Okay, I have heard of that. It's Guy Ritchie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean you just tell by the name. He's coming out with two war movies.
Yes.
The other one's with Jake Gyllenhaal. I think it's called The Covenant.
Correct. All right. So let's just jump
Not
into
to
it and
be
then
not to be mistaken with the
Alien.
movie I'm still waiting for a sequel to. Almost 6 years now.
Whoa. All right.
Bullshit.
Let's jump into this. So, and action. All right, John Street Films. We're back with me and Cocaine Bear. Got a bunch of reviews for today. Got a packed show, mostly full of reviews. What is that? Your smelling salts?
Tight, tight. Yeah. Green, purple, fucking pink. Just keep bringing me that. Oh, that's a new batch.
Hell yeah!
The old smelling sauce. That wasn't actually cocaine. Perfectly legal, but still
Um,
might be just as dangerous. We don't really know.
yes. So we got a couple reviews today. Today's the big foursome in reviews. We are going to be talking about Blonde, All Quiet on the Western Front, Pale Blue Eye, and Glass Onion. However, before we jump into that, there is a couple movie news, just a couple, and then we'll spiral a little bit, and then we'll jump into the reviews. So first, movie news was
Yes.
the new. Oh, we're.
Just
Uh-oh.
talk. I'm listening.
Okay. Well,
Forgot to turn that
it
light
is
on.
the name of your. Look at that!
Better, right? You can
It only
actually
took
see.
6 episodes.
No, that's been on before. It was just really dark at the beginning of this one.
Oh,
I
I
don't know
like
why
that.
it's particularly bright now. Now you can
Oh, it
see.
looks fine. Oh, it looks good.
Mhm.
All right. So, first
Get
thing of
darker.
news is I got a little darker, but that's fine. We are, as you said, 22 days away from the premiere and the release of your most anticipated film of all time, Cocaine Bear.
You just hear the
I,
title and you already know it's going to give you everything you want.
I have nothing to say about this
No,
movie.
no, I'm going into this knowing that there's going to be nothing cancelable, no gender politics or anything. Just If there's no cocaine bear in this movie and it's false advertising, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Well, that would suck.
I also just cut my thumb. I don't know on what. I think I got up too fast. All right. Shame that.
I don't know how I
And
feel.
cocaine bear is gonna
I
smell
want
the
to be
blood
like
in the air.
being 100% honest with it. I hope it's memeable. I mean, it's fucking cocaine bear. Is that the cat?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fucking cat.
Hey, Poe.
I had to keep my eye on him. He starts pissing on all my shit.
A little surprised appearance by Poe.
Not even surprise appearances anymore. I think he's been in it, so he's just been off screen.
Oh, yeah. We should get a Poe cam.
Yeah, I'll just be following him around as he
Put like a little
causes me more monetary damage.
GoPro on him, and we'll just have it. We'll have it go from when we start recording to when we end recording.
Pocam.
Just a little Poe cams.
That's gonna yeah, and I'm gonna be staring at it the whole time, going no, fuck.
No. We won't see what it does, what he does, and how the camera looks. We'll just like strap a little GoPro to like either like a collar, like right above his head, and when we start recording, that's when you press the button and you just let him go. And then when we wrap up, go get him, turn it off, and I'll just import it, and we'll just have it like play throughout the episode.
Yeah, my only
So it's gonna be like an hour of
my
him sleeping.
hesitation to that would be when he leaves the room and goes into some other room. Like, what if he catches my roommates in a sexual act or jerking off or something? I don't know if we live stream something like that. We get arrested for something like that.
I don't know if we live stream it, but
You gotta think ahead, or just say, close your doors.
I'll just blur it out in post.
You find out that Poe is just a massive pervert. You're just gonna be getting like an hour and a half of him like licking his asshole.
Hey, I'm fine with that. It might bring in views.
Yeah, there's an audience for that. Probably an Avatar audience, if I'm being honest. A cat licking his asshole.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that how the Na'vi clean themselves?
I think that's
they're
how James
just blue
Cameron
cats in
himself.
space. So
Grow a damn tail.
So Elizabeth Banks, cocaine bear. The movie is. I don't know if you really know what the synopsis of this movie is. It's based off a true event.
You shouldn't need to know the synopsis. The title should be the synopsis.
Yes,
the synopsis should just be the title.
It's Cocaine Bear. It's a 500-pound black bear. I'm going to read it. After a 500-pound black bear consumes a significant amount of cocaine and embarks on a drug-fueled rampage, an eccentric gathering of cops, criminals, tourists, and teenagers assemble in a Georgia forest.
Does that not sound like everything you've ever wanted out of a movie? An hour and a half of pure. If I know this movie probably won't dethrone Avatar 2 at the box office, but it should. It should have a widespread enough audience that people should be going in a day after they've seen it one time, bringing their families. And you got to see this shit. Whatever you think this is going to be, it is. I'm not expecting this to surprise me in any way, but I am expecting to come out with a Joker smile on my face saying that's exactly what I've been needing. No bullshit, no nothing. Just a fucking cocaine bear ripping apart hillbillies.
This movie is based off actual like true events, but I think now correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
the bear just ate a pound of cocaine and then just died.
Yeah.
Okay.
only after they discovered the bear near where the cocaine was thrown out of a plane. They found none of the cocaine, and they found
just a dead bear.
Maybe a mile or a couple miles away from it. I'm not sure, but they found all the cocaine in its stomach.
Okay.
and it did not, in fact, kill 25 people.
Okay.
That would have been
And
mighty disrespectful.
an eccentric gathering of cops, criminals, tourists, and teenagers never gathered outside of a of a suburban Georgia forest.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
Okay.
probably going to be filmed in a lot of the same places The Walking Dead was filmed. Maybe they use the same prison.
Oh,
My
interesting.
only hesitation is it's an hour and 30 minutes. The selfish part
Okay.
of me wishes this was like Avatar length, 3 hours and 15 minutes of a cocaine bear.
You know how sick that would be, dude?
I would buy like 3 tickets for almost 10 hours of viewing, one
Wow.
after another.
Huh.
Because I already know I've never gone into or expected a movie to be exactly what I'm expecting it to be like. And I'm assuming that I'm not alone here. Everyone who hears the name Cocaine Bear, or just look at the poster, you know exactly what this movie is going to be like. And I am perfectly fine with that. I know exactly what I'm going to get when I go into this movie. And I have 22 more days to wait for it before I am on top of the world, on cloud nine,
you're gonna get
cloud
exactly what you got out
cocaine.
of Gerard Butler's Planes. You're gonna get a mindless, fun, dumb movie.
Still haven't seen Plane.
Well, it's like
Um,
well,
I know exactly. I know what Plane is.
it's a movie for dads.
A movie for dads,
It's Gerard
a
Butler.
beer shoot 'em up movie.
It's Gerard Butler who's a pilot who all of like a pilot who just so happens to have like Navy SEAL training and just kicks a lot of ass on a
Good.
plane. For no and like they don't tell you his backstory. He doesn't have one. He just is a pilot who just knows how to kick ass. It's just
Yeah,
a
it's a
movie
perfect
for
title.
dads. It's just a movie for dads. It's a dad's feel good movie. Just for just drinking beers and kicking ass.
Yeah, and I like the title too. Kind of,
Plane.
it reminds me a lot of another movie, Cocaine Bear.
That's what I'm saying.
I know exactly what I'm getting. If I see Gerard Butler on the cover and I see the movie plane, there are terrorists on this plane, are there not? There got to be terrorists on this plane. And I heard there's a storm, and then I heard there's an island full of terrorists too. So that sounds like a plane load, not a boatload of fun, a plane load of fun. That sounds like I haven't seen. I just hope it's just
It's a
a
January
bunch of
movie.
bloody nonsense.
Yep.
Good. That's all I want it to be.
It's a January movie.
Although I do
Okay,
kind of
moving
want to see
on.
it in theaters, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, you wait till it comes to
Yeah,
most
it'll be
likely
on Amazon
Netflix and
Prime
like
soon, but I'm breaking my own rules here because I do love the cinema experience, but I don't, at the same time, I don't want to just go see every movie in theaters because I'm not made of money. But whatever.
all
Unless I
right.
start like bringing my popcorn in.
Yeah, you just make your own popcorn and bring it in the
Yeah,
movie.
but I did want to ask since we're talking about upcoming releases and whatnot. Um, I don't have HBO Max yet.
Okay.
I'm going to. I wanted to ask about The Last of Us. Have you seen all 3 episodes that have been released?
Yes.
Okay. Just your overall impressions compared to the game.
First 2 episodes. Well, mainly the first. Okay, so let's just say that um, HBO has seemingly done it. They have found a way to break the mold of adapting video games into visual, either cinema or shows. They have done it. And if any other video game company, brand, streaming service tends to or will want to follow these footsteps, this is the game plan. Watch The Last of Us. That is how you do it. Don't deviate from the script of the game that much. What makes the game great is why it's great. So just take that and do it live action, and it will be great because it made the game great.
Well, I also feel like if there's any game that you could adapt effectively, it would probably be The Last of Us.
Correct.
Just because of the straightforward story and the fact that it's a Naughty Dog game. Games that
Well,
are basically movies anyway. I know you're going to bring up Uncharted,
yeah,
probably,
yep.
because, and I mean, as soon as I saw the casting for that, I was like, yeah, they're going to butcher this. But I think in the form of a limited series is probably its best home.
Well, then you
And I do think that
also
I do think you could do like an Uncharted trilogy as movies and do them well
you
if you
can,
get them in the
yep,
hands of people who have actually played the games and
or
actually like the games.
correct. So with The Last of Us, they have the game the game creators are involved heavily with the show.
Neil
Craig
Druckmann.
Mazin just directed, I think he directed episode 2, and he was the director of the game. Um, and the show is written by the writers of Chernobyl, which may be the greatest limited series of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't what do I want to say? That
Yeah,
doesn't
just
not
walk
help.
away.
That's that when you have the actual creators of the game and probably the greatest limited series writer of all time on board, fully invested into a project, it's only going to be good. Where Uncharted didn't do that.
All
Uncharted
Uncharted
said,
was
"Let's
a
just
cash
get
grab, and
fucking
it felt nothing like the games at
Mark
all.
Wahlberg."
And Tom
Exactly.
Holland looks nothing like Nate Drake, and
And
Marky
Mark
Mark
Wahlberg
looks
doesn't
and
look like
sounds
Sully.
nothing like Sully. You know who
Correct.
does look and sound like Sully? Stephen Lang. And you know who looks almost exactly like Nathan Drake? Nathan Fillion. And you know those two guys were in a short film on YouTube. I think it's just called Uncharted, but I would recommend you watch that. Just look up Nathan Fillion Uncharted short on YouTube, and it's more worth your time for that 10-15 minutes. I don't know how long it is exactly, but that's more worth your while than the whole Uncharted movie. That's made by people who actually care about the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
So
Care
I
about
would
the
recommend
source
when we're done
material.
here, watch that, and you tell me that those wouldn't have been the perfect casting choices. It's just perfect. So yeah, when we're done, watch that.
Uh, will do. So the other thing about this, about The Last of Us is it does a lot of more back. It does a lot of more. It does more backstory than it does in the game. To really build the world, to show the start of this pandemic, to give a couple characters some more backstory. Like episode 3 was probably one of the best episodes of television that I've seen, and it was all flashback
That the
and
one with
all
Frank,
Bill and Frank
Frank and Bill.
and Bill.
I've heard a
Correct.
lot of people complaining about that one for like pushing a gay agenda. Even if you play
Doesn't
it, but if you've played the game, then you know that Bill's partner was Frank, although they don't really go into it. But I haven't
no, he
seen
just
it, and I'm actually very excited to see how they deal with that and flesh that whole dynamic out between Bill and Frank.
they do it in one
Again, I have to
episode.
watch. I have to get HBO first.
They do it in one episode, and it's fucking awesome. It's so different from the game, but yet I think pushes emotion and the story better than the game did, if that makes any sense.
Well, it was a pretty small part of the game, all things included from the first game. They didn't really delve into that. It's like one mission from the game,
Yeah.
but I don't want to ask too many questions because I haven't seen the show myself and I want to see it for myself. But So how would you rank these 3 episodes?
Uh, like at like one, two, three of the 3 episodes.
Like out of 10. Go through the first 3 episodes and tell me what you would give them out of 10.
Episode 1, maybe like a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Episode 2, like a 7 out of 10. And episode 3, like an 8, 8.2, 8.3 out of 10.
These don't sound as high as I was anticipating.
Well, I'm trying to base it off. I'm trying to go off your how you would rate a show.
No, don't go off of
Besides
mine,
being
go off of yours.
besides being like, okay, well, episode 1, which is basically a 1-for-1 of the game. You okay? It'd probably be like an eight, or an 8.5, an 8, and a 9.
Okay. So in terms of my grading system, where like a 5 out of 10 is average,
Okay,
yours is like a 7 out of 10 is average, right?
yeah, a
Your
seven,
letterbox
seven
reviews.
to 7 to 10 would be like rewatchable territory.
Okay.
Anything below is like a 6 is probably average. 5 and below is like,
What does something have to do to earn a 3 or a 2?
um,
Have you
well,
ever rated something a 2 or a 3 before? Like officially?
yes. Let me find it.
Oh yeah. This being a precursor to a future segment we're gonna do where we read through funny letterboxed reviews.
See if I can
I'm gonna hold on a minute. I'm gonna cover up some of this dead air.
go for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we do it?
I have a couple. Oof. Okay. Um, let's start off with
Shit. That was too
shit.
late.
Oh no.
We're gonna get
Okay.
copyrighted for that.
1 out of
Gotta distort
100.
it.
The Human
Wow.
Centipede Part 2, or the Human Centipede 2.
1 out of 100.
Terrible
I
movie.
have seen it. I've seen Human Centipede Part 2.
Another 1
Also
out of 100.
egregiously bad.
Larry the Cable Guy's Health Inspector.
That's hmm. I haven't
Uh,
seen
uh, The Last Airbender. The M Night Shyamalan.
Are these all ones?
Yes,
Are these like 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 10?
100.
Holy shit. That's,
Um,
that's a brutal review. That's a scathing, bottom
look,
feeder-esque review of The
the
Last Airbender.
okay, here you go. You ready? The Ridiculous Six, 2 out of 100.
Oh, we're moving up in the world now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would only put one movie I think I've ever seen at a 1 out of 100, and that's movie 43.
Norm of the
Worst
North,
film.
2 out of 100.
No, I don't give Norm of the North enough uh, care or attention to give it a 1 out of 100. I think you can throw on Norm of the North with your buddies when you're fucked up and just have a good time with it, which I have done, by the way. And it was a
Have you?
very good time. Yeah, I've
Oh
thrown it
no.
on with Dean, Sean, and Nick, because it was I got Nick his White Elephant for Christmas one year, and I got him Norm of the North on DVD, and we threw it on, got fucked up, and it's definitely not something you sit down and analyze. Let's just say that.
Well,
You sit down and
I
you laugh at it, you mute it, and you give characters funny voices.
I have my movie 43.
Yeah, what'd you give it?
Like a
Did you
16.
give it something? You give it a what?
16.
That's I hate to break it to you, but that's 16 points too high. If I could give it a 0, I would give it a 0. I don't think I can give it a 0 just because it was made. A product came out.
I don't know, dude. I
16.
think,
What
yeah,
did you
I
enjoy
think,
about movie 43?
um,
That seems like Oscar worthy.
I,
Holy fucking shit.
well, okay. What I have is at ranked 0 out of 100, like a lot of those meme movies, like Vampires Suck, The Starving Games, like shit like that, that are just so ungodly bad, or like really stupid fucking horror movies like Silent Hills Revelation. Like that shit's just so dumb. The Hungover Games. And then the other, what's this one? Oh, the newer. I
The
thought was so
Hungover Games?
yes, instead of
There are
the Hangover.
Hangover. Are these
It's
based
called
off the Hangover movies?
yes, and the Hunger Games, and I don't know Ted. It's it's a
Wait,
spoof.
so
It's a
there's a
spoof
movie called
movie.
The Hangover game. I thought you were talking about video games that were based off of The
No, no,
Hangover.
no. The
This is
Hungover
a
Games.
this is the most ambitious crossover in cinema history.
And then I ranked Bliss at 0 out of 100.
What the fuck is Bliss?
Salma Hayek and Owen Wilson.
Oh, so a paycheck movie.
Terrible, terrible movie.
Damn it,
Anyway,
Selma. You were an Academy Award nominated person.
anyway,
What are you doing
those
with
are just yeah.
Wow. Though I like
So
Owen
that's
Wilson.
kind of my a little
Interesting. I can't.
dive behind my rankings. But yes, I think The Last of Us is a fucking phenomenal show so far, and I think that this is going to be the blueprint of how to adapt video games into live action.
What other video games could be adapted
I
after
think
The
there's
Last of Us?
I think there's only one that can really do it well if HBO just fucking does it. Red Dead.
Which is Yeah, Red Dead would be cool. Red Dead would be specifically Red Dead 2. I don't know how they would handle that. That would be a really, really.
They should
They
just
would have
do
to
it.
split up 2 into multiple seasons, I think,
Just do the
which I'd
whole
be fine
thing.
with.
Just
They
just
could do
do it all. Just do it all. Just go through Red Dead 2 and then follow it right into Red Dead Redemption. Just make it a series. Make it like 11 seasons, 10 seasons. Just do the whole show, the whole game, the whole franchise. Why not?
Why does John Marston look so old in season 11? Isn't Doesn't Red Dead 2 take place before Red Dead 1? This dude looks old as hell. He looks like Rick from season
Well,
10.
yeah, so you would shoot it Red Dead 2 first.
Mm. All right. I
You just
think
shoot it in
in the right
chronological order.
hands, sure. Give
And
just
you just
give
title the show
everything to the
Red Dead
Chernobyl
Redemption.
showrunners. Give everything to the Chernobyl showrunners.
Oh, I agree. I
I would
agree
love to see
100%.
Doom. I'd love to see
Ooh.
Doom adapted. I
Wait,
think that would be awesome. Critics would hate it and people would love it. Specifically the new
um,
Doom movie and the 2 new Doom games. Oh, they're so much fun. I was playing Doom Eternal until like
I don't think there's going to be
3 a.m.
news about
last
a
night.
Doom show. No, maybe I'm wrong.
There have been Doom adaptations. None of them have been good.
No, there's the one with the Rock, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's just garbage. And then I think there's another one that came out during COVID. I think it had a female lead. I don't remember the name. I think it might have just been called Doom, but I think in the right
Now,
hands and the right budget, Doom can be awesome.
I got a fun game.
Fun game.
Um, fun little game here since we were talking about Red Dead Redemption. Who'd you cast to play your Red Dead Redemption characters?
I've seen like a dozen Instagram pages doing fuck. I forgot I still had that open.
So, like, who would be your Arthur
I
Morgan?
saw some serious ones, and then I saw some meme ones. The meme ones were doing like John Marston being played by like Michael B. Jordan or something, so they don't get canceled. Although I would love if Lenny was played by Lakeith Stanfield. I think that would be perfect casting.
I think that would be great. That's actually who I had casted.
Yeah, he looks like him in the game too,
My,
and would make things even more.
I think it'd be fucking
I
cool, dude.
don't spoil anything for the show. The show that's not in production about what happens to Lenny if the show is made. But I would bawl my fucking eyes out, and a
If
whole like
there's
episode
if
dedicated.
everything, it's just Lenny.
Yeah,
Everyone's Lenny.
yeah, and just a whole episode dedicated to whoever plays Arthur going to get his Arabian horse, which would be perfect. Although I'm trying to think of I think Adam Driver would be a good Dutch.
I have okay, so I have Tom Hardy as Arthur.
Yeah, they got like the same Western voice too. Tom Hardy's done that voice a bunch of times.
For Dutch, I have Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I haven't seen Jeffrey Dean Morgan with that kind of facial hair before. I haven't.
What into
Huh?
a mustache and soul
Dog.
patch.
Maybe. Why is that meme coming up so often now? All the Negan memes keep popping up all over the place.
You can do John Marston as Norman Reedus.
Yeah, they look pretty much identical. And that dude from Death Stranding looks exactly like Norman Reedus too.
Yeah, Uncle. Yeah, Uncle.
Yeah.
You just do it with John C. Riley.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh shit. Hold on a second. I gotta find. There's gonna be a little bit of dead air here, so feel free to play Whopper.
No, I'm not gonna play Whopper, but I think you can
John
have.
Lithgow would be a good uncle, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd go
okay.
John Lithgow.
You think he's a little tall? Don't you think?
It doesn't. we,
Yeah, I guess
we
it
don't have
doesn't
to get all.
matter.
And I was looking up the Pet Cemetery remake cast list. I think Jason Clarke would be a good Arthur. I think
He could be.
Jason Clarke doesn't get enough
Hugh Jackman
leading
would
to.
probably. Hugh Jackman could
He's
probably do a good
basically
Arthur.
yeah, but Jason Clarke is basically that guy from all those movies at this point. He
Yeah.
doesn't have that role that.
Who would you put as who'd you cast as Hosea?
Um, maybe John Malkovich.
Oh, I did Kevin Bacon.
Sure, same face. Cholo John Malkovich would have to do a
Or
different
even
voice.
like maybe Bryan Cranston.
Well, Bryan Cranston could do any of these roles. He could do Sadie if
Um,
he wanted to.
David Harbour as Bill.
Hmm. Bill, I'm trying. I haven't played Red Dead 2 in a while. I always mix up Bill and um. The, who's the bad guy?
Micah.
Micah. Yeah, they're similar.
I don't know who I would have play Micah. I'm not sure.
I don't
But I
know.
did put Pedro Pascal as the heir.
Yeah, he'd be a good Javier.
Uh,
I want to figure out who I would get.
as Micah.
I don't know who I would get Micah as. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but oh yeah, Micah Bell.
Do Lauren
I don't know why I
Cohen as
remember his last name.
Abigail. Emily Blunt is Sadie.
Who
Sadie
can grow a
Adler.
mustache like this? Is that thick? Oh,
Wyatt Russell.
um, Wyatt Russell. Yeah, I would consider Wyatt Russell. I would also consider, um, God damn it,
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi.
Woody Harrelson.
I think Woody Harrelson would go well somewhere here. Ben Foster, I think, would be a good Micah.
Ooh.
I've seen him with that same type of mustache. He's done westerns before.
Ooh.
I
Oh,
would
what if
put
you throw in
just absolutely
Dad?
stack the shit out of this
What if
lineup.
you switch out Kevin Bacon as Hosea for Daddy Defoe?
Willem Dafoe as Hosea. It has potential. Although I would love to see him in more of a sarcastic role. I don't know what role that would be though.
The jester of Atlantis.
Yeah. The emp the Emperor of Dune, Willem Dafoe.
So that's just a little. Uh, that's just the other game that I think that would make more sense to do. I think they have like a mass was it a Mass Effect game in the works? Maybe
Mass Effect show?
show. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or is it a
Show.
movie?
No, I'm sorry. It was BioShock.
Oh, that could work, yeah.
That one. They have a Call of Duty one, which is going to be just like a war show.
Oh,
Um,
really? How'd they come to that conclusion?
yeah, I'm just
I
going to
don't
call
think
it
you need
Call of
to, I don't
Duty.
think you need to do that.
No, there
Unless you
are.
make it like unless you make it like Modern Warfare or something. Although everybody knows how that ends. I feel like Last of Us not
Well, then
everyone who played the games
they
knows
have
how The Last of Us ends, but there are so many people watching Last of Us who have not played the games. Nobody
and
is watching
this is
Call of
perfect.
Duty
And
who hasn't played Call of Duty.
this show is perfect for those who have never played the games to get like fully invested.
Oh yeah, I think The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 downloads increased like 300%
Oh,
the
absolutely.
first couple weeks. I didn't even know that they remastered The Last of Us again.
Hmm.
Apparently, they really remastered it. I might consider getting it, but
I may have to see
I
the
don't know. I have a
remaster
love-hate
because
relationship with The Last of Us 2.
when this game first came out for the PlayStation 3, I 100% the entire game, every difficulty, every um, achievement, every unlockable, every little collectible. And then I got the remastered for the PlayStation 4 and I did the exact same thing. But if they remastered it, I may have to spend the time and try to do it again. See how remastered it is.
You know, there's something fun about Naughty Dog games that I can just replay. I've played every Uncharted game at least 5 times all the way through. I played The Last of Us and completed that game like 3 times. I've only played The Last of Us 2 once. I have a very conflicted relationship with that game.
As do I.
I kind of wish they didn't make it in the first place. I don't know if there's going to be a third one. I mean, at
Doubt
this
it.
point, you might as well make a third one. You already made a second one.
I wish it ended
It is what
differently,
it is.
and I
I don't
wish
think.
something happened differently inside of it, but that's neither here nor there. That is for a later discussion.
Well, I have something. I've never understood people who get really upset over movies that get made after a movie that they really like the Alien prequels. A lot of people hate those, Prometheus and Covenant. I'm like, if you don't like them, don't
Don't
fucking
watch them.
watch them. You still have the old ones. Go watch those.
Yeah,
I happen to be likely in the minority of people that happens to love the old ones and really likes the new ones. I
because you're a
understand
fan
why a
of the
lot of people.
lore.
Well, yeah, they also did. I like how it branched off in a really weird direction. I like how Look, Ridley Scott didn't knock it out of the park or anything. If he did knock it out of the park, there wouldn't be so many people who hate Prometheus and Covenant. But
Yeah,
I like that he went in a weird direction with it because I like when things aren't generic. I like when people take risks. You know,
just like they took
the
risks with
origin
the
of
Woman
mankind
King.
who created us, and that's all. I like the fact that that's all in the Alien universe now because it is now a very diverse franchise, and I'm
I'm just
not
gonna.
counting Alien versus Predator in that franchise.
You didn't hear what I said there, and I'm
No,
just
I
gonna
didn't.
not
What did you
repeat.
say?
You said you love when they take risks, and I said, yeah, like the Woman King.
I mean, that's not even a risk. That's just fucking stupid as hell. You would have been taking a risk if you told the. Maybe that's it. If they told the actual story, that would have been taking a risk.
Yeah.
But no, I think they played it safe here.
Um.
Unfortunately, they played it safe here, which another movie that we will talk about definitely did not play it safe,
No. And so that can lead us. That can
and I will applaud it for it.
jump us right into that part. Unless you have any other topics or any kind of news, anything you want to bring up
No,
before
nothing
we.
film related. Just I got stung by a wasp today, and it's right there, so that's cool.
What'd you
That'll
do?
be on display. The wasp stung by a wasp.
Well, I know. Okay, I know that,
I
but
didn't
like,
do anything to the wasp. I mean, maybe I stepped near it and it got pissed at me and decided, well, I'm gonna hurt you and end my life. Is that something? What do wasps die when they sting you, or is that just bees? I'm not sure.
I think
Hold on.
it's a very baller way to go, don't you think? Like, I'm gonna cause this guy just a minor inconvenience, but then I die.
Ooh, unlike bees, wasps do not die after they sting
Oh,
someone. In fact, they
oh,
can sting someone multiple times during their lifetime. Okay,
oh, buddy,
so
this
that
wasp is
fucker's
waiting
that
for
fucker's
it.
still out there. Next time I go to work, he's gonna be waiting for me like a damn bully in the fucking schoolyard.
Oh, all of his little wasp friends are gonna be fucking holding their metal pipes.
Yeah, that wasp wants to see me at 3 o'clock after school.
It's gonna beat you up, man.
Add him to the list, dude. I've had my fair share of beat downs after school, but it made me stronger.
All right,
Now I can
so
beat the fuck out of anybody,
yeah, and we can beat the
except
fuck
that
out of
bee.
some of these.
Except that wasp beat the shit out of me.
We'll
But
beat the fuck out of some of these reviews here. So,
yeah,
we got a full slate of reviews.
yeah, I can't believe
Which
we tried to get all of these in one episode. An abs-
well, I don't
that
think
was
I think
absurd.
two of them I think can be short. I don't think we really have to discuss. We don't. There's not really that much to discuss. I feel like the All Quiet on the Western Front and Blonde will probably be our two biggest
I agree.
time takers.
Yeah, so
Um,
which one do you want to hop into first?
so we can probably jump through just like a quick one, which would be Glass Onion. I think that
Yeah,
one would be fairly short. Um, uh, Glass Onion. Fucking Ryan Johnson does it again. I don't know. I don't really know what much to say, like other than like I love this movie. I love this characters. Daniel Craig is so goddamn fucking good as Benoit Blanc. Just same stupid wit and humor and mystery as the first one. I do, however, think Knives Out was a better movie than
I
this one,
agree.
but this movie had a lot of things that I really, really did like. Um, I'll try to keep it spoiler free for the time being. Um, I think one of the funniest parts of this movie was Ethan Hawke.
Nice little cameo. You're good.
You're good.
You're good. That's all you need to know. He had more of a significant role in Glass Onion than he did in the entire The Black Phone movie,
Yep.
which I did not like. But like that was, but we're not reviewing The Black Phone, so see that I almost got sidetracked, but I didn't.
You didn't. We're reviewing Glass Onion.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what were
You have
your
anything else you
thoughts?
want to add?
No. I mean, I'll
No.
probably be able to like riff off of yours. and like
Yeah.
whatever like topic points that we want to
Yeah,
spiral
we'll
off
just
into
treat
about
this.
it. But just
We'll do like
overall,
debate rules. You hop off of my points, I'll hop off of your points.
overall, I think this movie was really, really good. I hope Ryan Johnson just makes like a fuckload of these because
Well, he
they're
will
very
make
good.
a fuckload of these. Did you see how much Netflix paid for the rights to this
A
franchise?
lot, a
Yeah,
lot.
he's already writing the third one, and
And I think
I'm
Daniel Craig can just be like Benoit Blanc until he dies. I don't think anybody else can play this character as well as he does.
well. It is nice to see Daniel Craig clearly having fun in a role
Mm-hmm.
since the James Bond movies, where there are a lot of conflicting reports saying he's hated his time being James Bond. I don't listen to all that because most of them are just hit pieces. But I mean, you see Daniel Craig in a lot of roles where he's clearly not a happy character in the film, whether he's playing James Bond or the girl with the dragon tattoo, which is eternal misery.
Yeah, and then as soon as he leaves James Bond, he's doing these fucking Belvedere vodka dancing commercials, and it's just fucking back to having fun and doing what
Yeah,
he wants to
I
do.
feel like Daniel Craig is a really fun person to be around. I'd love to dance. I'd love to just like dance with Daniel Craig at a wedding. I think that would be really fun.
I think that would be
Just
great.
tearing up the dance floor. The next one of our friends get married, I'm gonna send James Bond a message,
You're gonna have him be your plus one.
and I'll probably end up with like Timothy Dalton coming or something. It'll
I
be
mean, it's
weird.
still not bad.
Yeah, or Sean Connery. Oh, Sean Connery at a wedding would be awesome.
That'd be
But
sick. Actually, that'd be
mhm,
fucking sick. Dude, you'd have all the grandmas at your table.
mhm. Me
Just
and Sean
you and my
Connery, and
you
me
and my
doing
buddy
a Sean
Sean.
Connery impression, and all the aunts and the grandmas
Mm.
asking us about our life story, and I'll be telling him that um I was a background actor on Skyfall or something, and then I'll bed some nannies.
Mm.
But aside from that, it is really fun to watch. It's nice when you can see an actor clearly enjoying his time or her time in a film while they're making it. And that's the thing about the la uh the last Knives Out and this Knives Out, you can tell everybody's having a fucking great time.
Oh, absolutely.
And Ryan Johnson is writing the third Knives Out as we speak. So I do think they're gonna just keep pumping these things out. And if it stays on this level, again, I like the first Knives Out more than this one. I think the first one is a superior movie in pretty much every way. I think in some parts this one is funnier. I think
Um,
there are some.
I think his one-liners are funnier, especially going back a couple episodes ago. No, it was last episode. Uh, it's so dumb. I think that line is just so
It's
fucking,
it's
just
it
so
is so
dumb.
dumb. It's so dumb. It's brilliant, James Cameron.
I
No,
know,
it's just
just
dumb.
dumb. I think that line is great.
Why are the water people? Why are they blue? Why are the forest people also blue? The forest isn't blue. But anyway, we already went
You're
over
turning
that.
into a fucking Jerry Seinfeld stand-up bit.
Why are they blue? Why are they blue? Kramer, why are they blue? And then Kramer bursts in. I saw them, Jerry. They're blue, Jerry. They're blue. And
Anyway,
yeah, this is the problem. There's so many rabbit holes, and they all lead to Avatar. And we got to stay away from these rabbit holes. You got to watch your step. It's like
hard.
a damn minefield. You step on one, and boom, you're on Pandora. But uh, what I rated, I rated the first Knives Out super high, and I still do. I have it like a
Mhm.
9.6 or a 9.7. I think it's a masterpiece. It's one of my favorite. It's my favorite film of 2019.
Okay.
Favorite film of 2019 was Parasite, and then I think it was 1917 or something. But I've seen the first Knives Out like 6 or 7 times at this point. and I just love
I
it every time. I think it's a
I have
perfect movie. I think it's a
yeah,
perfect whodunit. That I think the where the second one falters a little bit more than the first one is you can kind of see the ending coming, like the whole who done it. You, it becomes pretty obvious at a certain point who actually does it. The twist which I think is going to be a theme in all of the Knives Out movies to come, is there's a twist in the middle of the film, which is the main twist, which I think was so perfectly done in the first Knives Out. You're like, okay, so it's a whodunit, but it's not really a whodunit because you know who did it, but it's how they did it. That's the creative part. And I think that there are some plot holes in the second one that are kind of glaring to me that show up at the end, and I thought the ending was kind of silly, not nearly as poignant as the first one. I think the characters in the first one also are more memorable to me. Um, the second one doesn't really have its Ana de Armas character, doesn't really have its Marta Cabrera. It tries, but I don't think it reaches
no.
that. I don't think it
Janelle
ever
Monáe is
has
the
that.
only
It doesn't have,
takeaway
yeah. I
star
don't
in
think it
this.
has that likable yin to Daniel Craig's yang in this one. But
Agreed.
uh, again, I've watched it 3 times now. I've watched it once. The first time I watched it alone, and then I watched it um, with some friends. And it's a great movie to watch with people, as is the first Knives Out. But yeah, it's a really good time of a movie. It's like all of pretty much all of Ryan Johnson's work. It's really sharp written and witty. Not quite as sharp as the first one, but I really enjoyed it. And I guess we don't really do spoiler reviews here. So,
We can.
huh?
We can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the one thing
So
about like
let
the
me just
ending.
jump in and say I have the first
Yeah.
Knives Out rated at a 95, and I have this one at a 89. So it's very, very close to each other.
Yeah.
I had my biggest critique of this movie, honest, like I really think is just the twist with Janelle Monáe's character. It, I mean, that twist is so cheesy.
It is kind of cheap.
I think it's just so cheap. Not the fact that, I mean, are we getting into spoilers?
Um,
If you're not into
light
spoilers,
spoilers.
don't want to hear spoilers, fast forward. Or
I can.
pause right the fuck now, go on Netflix,
Which
watch it,
spoiler are you going
and
to talk
then
about?
um the middle twist.
Okay. I don't know how you can really talk about it without spoiling it. There's a character in the film who shows up, uh, kind of as a surprise to all the other characters, and you later find out that she's not the character that you thought she was. She's in fact somebody else. It's the best way I can say it without spoiling it.
Correct. It's a cheap twist.
It
They
is
probably
cheesy.
could have they probably could have done a little different in that aspect. Um,
Although there is a pretty funny cameo by Hugh Grant there too, when he
there
answers the
is,
door.
yes, there is, and I did like that. But I think the best part of the movie, like I said earlier in my little intro to it, was Ethan Hawke. He's on this dock. They're all coming to the boat. COVID's a thing, and
Yeah, this
Ethan
is a
Hawke
very
just
COVID movie.
Ethan
This
Hawke
was
tells him, drop your mask, and he sprays this, or he shoots this thing into the back of their throat. And they're like, well, do I need my mask? And he's like, you're good. He's like, no, I need my mask. No, you're good. You don't need your mask. You're good. And it was a really good social commentary of the world today compared to when it actually was being made in the middle of COVID, like at its
yeah.
worst.
Thinking back, it was probably just like a breath mint or something,
Oh, it was so funny,
which
and
would
it
make
was
it so
so. And
fun.
then he's not in the movie anymore. He's in the as soon as when they all got to the dock in like the first 10 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, holy fuck, Ethan Hawke's in this movie. Like this is gonna be sick. Then he's in there for 5 minutes, and then he's not in the movie.
Yeah, it's a good cameo.
It was great. It was great. He's just like the dumb henchman. That's just like you're good. I thought it was very well
Yeah,
done, and you know what? And if they're gonna do that for the rest of these movies, have these really big names, but then have like even bigger names, just make like stupid small cameos for like 5 minutes. I think that's perfect.
yeah, I think this one has a little bit of that sequelitis where everything has to be bigger and grander. Um, I think the thing that made the first, I love the first one so much because it's so. I mean, this the second Glass Onion has this much bigger scale and scope, and there's an emphasis on like really advanced technology in this one. In the first one, it's just very poignant, centralized
Who
story,
done it? Yeah.
just taken around, yeah, just filmed in a real house, um, with these real sets, and it. I just appreciated about the first movie. It's more simple. It looks more simple, but it's more complex than Glass Onion, and I think Glass Onion is the opposite, where it looks more complex, but it's more simple than the first one. So, I really liked it. I think the ending is. I wasn't a big fan of the ending. I thought, oh, that's it, just chaos. Chaos wins,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, and there is this discovered element that apparently is going to change the world, and apparently it's a very dangerous substance, and at the end it apparently it's flammable, um like the Hindenburg and hydrogen and all this explosive stuff, but it's used in the end, and I was like, well, if it's being used like that, then why the if the whole house is powered on this stuff, then why didn't the whole house blow up as soon as that fire started in the first place? So just like stuff like that, kind of at the end, like the plot holes and some of the silliness, it brought it down a few notches for me. But
Like
I would definitely watch it again, and it was definitely better than a lot of the movies that came out this year, specifically Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio. But we don't have to talk about that either.
I agree. Like a plot
Yeah.
hole and another dumb cheesy thing I thought was I think the hot sauce was just didn't need to happen. I think what the hot sauce was used for and what you initially thought happened, that should have just happened.
Well, I mean, I thought if that, well, I there is a scene involving hot sauce and a certain level of tension. The hot sauce is going to a certain place. And I thought if they could have built that up a lot more than they did. It only lasts for a couple seconds, and you're like, you had a golden opportunity there to really invoke a level of like suspense, and it just never really goes there. It's just everybody goes away, and she just wipes it off and sneezes once, and that's it.
Yes.
I so Yeah, I think you could have taken that away. Looking
I
back
think you
at
don't even
how
need to do
little any
any of
bit of
that.
tension was used, yeah, I mean, you could, based on
What
what
you
they
initially
did in
think
the
is going to
film.
happen just should
Yeah, I
have
mean,
happened.
yeah, based on what actually happened with it, nothing. They really didn't do anything clever with it. So, I mean, that could have been taken out. I would have preferred they leave it in and built the tension more with it, but they didn't really do that. But it's a small thing, so
And
it is
and
really
building
nitpicky.
that filmmaking talk now, building that tension is just cutting back and forth to it a bunch of times and increasing the crescendo and the exposition of the music and the score. Like, so you have to just slow the frame rate down a little bit and just keep cutting back to it closer and
Yeah, I would
closer
have rather
and
I would have
closer. And
rather
that's all you have
seen
to do.
that. Yeah, but I would have rather seen that than this CGI hot sauce,
At
almost
an extreme,
almost
at, at just a close up distance.
yeah, and
And then just
it entered
cut
her.
to a wide shot.
Wait a minute. This hot sauce is gonna get a reaction out of this dead person, and everybody's already gone. There's no tension here. But
Yeah, and
it's
then it turns
it's a
into like a
nitpick, so
little,
it really
like a
doesn't
little,
matter.
and that turns into like a little joke scene, like a little comedy. Woo! Oh boy, good
Yeah,
thing that
which is
didn't
something
happen.
about like the first Knives Out never really submitted itself to comedic scenes like that. When there was a comedic scene, it never felt forced. And there are some forced scenes in this film.
Well,
They didn't really bother me, but they were noticeable.
Dave Bautista does a lot
You
of
know,
that forced comedy, the hard, stupid laugh, which I mean, it gets me every time. I
I
think
think
it's very funny.
that's just his laugh.
It must be
It's just
because
the
it's the
way
same
that's
laugh.
just the way the big people. That's the way the gigantic WWE former wrestlers laugh.
Because it's the same laugh he does in Guardians of the Galaxy, where it seems like his character Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy is like it is just so stupid and so dumb that the laugh, his almost laugh like fits that character, but he does that laugh like this entire movie, so that just might be his laugh. Like it almost sounds like
I
a
wasn't
fake
really
laugh.
bothered by his laugh. I thought Dave Bautista was really good in this movie.
No, oh, I'm not. I'm
I
not
wanted to
saying
see
I'm
more of
bothered
Dave
by it. I'm
Bautista.
just saying like it sounds like when he does that laugh, it it sounds like it's a forced comedy scene, but it's just his laugh.
Yeah, a lot of people said that about me because I don't laugh or smile.
And
But
when you do,
it's mainly because I'm
it's
trying to.
really funny.
Yeah, it's because like it's because I'm trying to suppress it. And I don't think I've ever laughed. Like I have laughed in front of people, but I don't do it very often. But it's
See, that's the same
this
when it
it's this
comes to
stupid look on my face, like the where I'm trying to suppress it. And I'm doing it right now for real. But
the same. I can say
it's
the
the
same
same kind of deal. But
with Dean.
yeah. Yeah, Dean
When
definitely
Dean
is more of a
smiles,
suppressive smiler.
when Dean smiles, and then like he does that silent laugh, the hard silent laugh with the smile, you know that thing is really fucking funny.
Yeah, uh, it's something to
Like
behold.
one of the
What
funny
always
like the
gets him is
and it's shit about
when I'll
you,
fart
and
into the
it's always
couch,
it's just shit about yeah, it's just you. And you bring you bring the laughs out of Dean. Like when you
yeah, I
talked
mean,
about
I know him too well. I know what makes him tick.
like the podcast we did years ago when you talked about how you used to flush your pork chops down the toilet. Like
Yeah, that still gets him.
that that was so
And that would
fucking
get
funny.
pretty much anyone, not just because it's funny, because it's so ridiculous. Like who would do that?
That and then
But
you winning helping hands.
which I didn't. I barely participated in helping hands.
Like
But
that shit, like that stuff, like that's so just unnecessarily funny. To where if anybody else would hear it, they're like, "That's not funny." Like that shit's
yeah,
funny. Like that shit. Look, come on, that shit's funny.
yeah, it's the niche stuff.
Yeah,
But anyway, Batista's laugh.
like that's funny. Like that'll get me to laugh every time.
Yeah, like a blue person saying "cuz" or "cuzzo"
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
really long movie.
exactly.
Rabbit hole
Um.
time.
Anyway, final thoughts of Glass Onion. I really liked it. Loved it. A little cheesy, corny, but it worked. And I don't ever want them to stop making new ones.
Yeah, really liked it. Don't I don't think anything will compare to the first one, but I don't think they need to. And I think with all the franchises going on, nowadays. I hope that this is one of the ones that continues. Very, very good movie. I was happy with what I got out of it. And that
All
was a
right,
quick
so
review.
yeah, it was. God, I can only wait how long Blonde's going to be.
Mm.
Moving on, to one that came out what in December, November? No, it came out in November.
Is this
Starring
Pale Blue
Christian
Eye?
Bale. Yep,
Yeah.
starring Christian
Oh,
Bale and
this
Harry
is
Melling. The Pale Blue Eye. Um,
must have been December. I guess it was December.
I didn't let you start this one.
Um, I didn't really have any expectations for this one. I had watched the last Scott Cooper movie that came out last year. It was last October. It was called Antlers, and it was based on a short story that I read back right before COVID started. And I remember Antlers was supposed to be released. Um, I think it was supposed to be released in early 2020, and it got shelved for like a year and a half or something. And it was my most anticipated, it became my most anticipated movie of all time. It's a, I don't know if you're familiar with Wendigos, but
Absolutely,
It's a Wendigo story.
I
I
played that fucking stupid
Until Dawn.
Hayden Panettiere game.
Yeah, Until Dawn. And I saw that and I was a bit let down. I haven't watched it since I saw it in theaters over a year ago. And I think I should revisit it. And I'm kind of getting the same impression from The Pale Blue Eye because I
That
wanted to like it because I really love period films that are based in the in like 19th century murder mysteries. You know, and for some reason also featuring Edgar Allan Poe as your co-detective for some reason. Still trying to figure that out. I think this is based on a story, although I don't think it's an Edgar Allan Poe story. I think this is loosely based on another Edgar Allan Poe poem, but I long story short, I wanted to really like this. After I finished watching it immediately, I thought I do. Okay. I did really like this. I liked it a lot. And then I thought about it more and more, and I slowly started to realize that I don't love it as much as I wanted to. Because when funny, there's a twist in this film, and it's a twist that I've been thinking about, like if I were to write um like a mystery thriller or something. I want to write a story about um a detective who is brought on to solve a series of murders, and at the end the catch is that the detective was committing the murders the whole time. So I guess me telling you this pretty much spoils the movie.
yep,
You might have
yes,
to
it
cut
does.
all that out. I mean, I don't know. You might have to cut all that out. But that's what I was thinking the whole time. Like the whole time after I finished, I was like, I didn't think a movie would actually ever do
Do that.
this because I've been
Yep.
thinking about a potential movie like this for like 5 years now. And I
Yeah.
just remember thinking, okay, cool. I don't really care though,
Agreed.
which is crazy because Christian Bale is playing the detective,
Yep,
and it's no slight on Christian Bale. I just don't think the plot is as interesting
I
as
know.
Scott Cooper wants the plot to be.
This is a tough one for Christian Bale.
And Christian Bale is very much doing this sort of melancholy, like sad performance, and he's very good in it. I think Harry Mellings gets a little more to do in terms of chewing up the scenery. He gets to work with this outrageous accent that
Yeah,
I
and I
love.
think, and the
But
part of Christian Bale's sad, bleak performance, which he does do a really good job of, it almost gets overshadowed by how fucking stellar Harry Melling is.
yeah, and he's really good, and I'm glad that somebody from one of these franchises, whether it be I guess specifically the Harry Potter franchise, when one of those actors gets to branch off and be recognized for something other than Harry Potter. Daniel Radcliffe has been trying to do that for a decade now. I mean, Daniel Radcliffe has taken on some of the most insane roles that I've seen any actor
The Woman in
take on.
Black,
I mean,
Swiss Army
think about
Man,
Swiss Army Man, The
Guns
Power of Farting,
Akimbo,
uh, yeah, Blades
Gun.
Akimbo, this new Weird Al Yankovic movie, which apparently is really good.
Mm-hmm.
But still nobody can really separate him from he can't quite separate him from Harry Potter.
But that's
Which is
different, which is
well,
very
I mean
hard for him specifically.
yeah, I mean has Hermione Granger really
She
been
did
separated from being Hermione Granger since
no.
Harry
Emma
Potter?
Watson did
No.
that. What Perks of Being a Wallflower?
Which was really good.
Um, and she did a couple
Unfortunately.
other things, but no, not really. And
Oh,
neither
man.
had Rupert Grint. Well, I mean, I
Well,
haven't
Rupert
seen.
Grint, who
He's
I
in
think
Knock at the
might
Cabin.
actually be the best actor of the three, who
I
was in one
agree.
episode of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yep, he
And he was
was.
fucking amazing in that one, by the way.
He was actually. It was
It's
very funny when Ed Sheeran came out with like his first music video for Lego House, and you're like, oh, okay, and it's shot from behind him the entire time, with him walking through like out of his car through the backstage, and he's getting ready to go on stage and sing, and it turns out the camera's following the entire song is Rupert Grint, and he breaks in backstage at the Ed Sheeran show, and he just walks onto stage, and the crowd goes crazy because they think it's Ed Sheeran, and like police come and just like arrest him because it's just not. And I was like, okay, like that's really fucking funny. Like that's funny. Um, I'm excited to see him and Knock at the Cabin, but anyway, back to your original point of
well, we'll see. I mean, Shyamalan is hit or miss lately, more miss than hit. But I do like Shyamalan because he's a local Philly guy, and
but
Dean's
his
dad
movies
has done in yeah, Dean's dad has done extermination work in Shyamalan's house,
yep.
which is
And my
cool.
parents my parents' best friends do their tree preservation
And
for his property.
yeah, I mean,
Um, so it's
massive
only a matter of
Sixers
time he gets
fans
on
at
this
every
fucking
Sixers
podcast.
game. Yeah, it's only a matter of time before we get him on here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what he's gonna. I don't. I know he has that show, AMC show. It's called Servant. I haven't seen it. I don't really know what it's about, but I know he. I know he is. I think he might be the showrunner on that. I'm not sure. He's the creator of it.
I want to ask him. Actually, I want to ask him why on earth would he fuck up Avatar, The Last Airbender?
Yeah. Uh, I mean, as a one out of, I know it's one of the like the famous worst adaptations of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think I would give it a 1 out of 100. I think that might be pushing it a little bit. It is
Mm,
very, very bad, but I don't know. I don't want to say too many things that would shit on M. Night Shyamalan in case we do get him on here and he does some research and watches these and decides, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm not going on here. Douchebags.
Look,
But
we keep it real. Sorry,
I
you've had a
think
lot of misses. You've also
hang
had
it.
a lot of successes. Unbreakable.
And we're not going to talk about
Split.
After
There
Earth.
you
We're
go.
not going to talk about uh, The Happening or The Last Airbender. I think
Actually,
those are,
I got a story about that happening, but we'll wait for another episode for that.
oh boy. Yeah, write that down.
It's actually a really cool story.
A cool story about The Happening. That's the coolest thing that's happened to The Happening since ever, because nothing cool has ever been
Actually,
associated with
I'll
that.
just say it. I'll just say it right now. So, when they were filming The Happening, my dad's best friend lost his son, and this is the friend that does the tree work for M Night. So when M Night was shooting The Happening, he tragically lost his son, who was, I want to say, like 6, 7 years old. And so M Night movie was finished. M Night went back into the train station and renamed the train station to their family's last name. So,
Do you have authority to do that? Was it his train
uh,
station? How did
no,
he do
but
that?
for the movie, whatever they
Oh,
named the
okay.
train station, he
I thought he
changed
went
it.
to like City Hall.
No, he changed it for the movie.
I mean, yeah, I've never said that M. Night Shyamalan's not a great guy. He seems like a
Oh no,
genuinely awesome person.
he does.
But just stay away. Just
Stay away from Avatar
don't make any more After Earths.
or
Don't.
Avatar.
And look, I mean, yeah, just stay away from The Last Airbender. And I mean, I would prefer. No, I'm not gonna say that. That would have been fucked up. I'll say it. I'll say
Anyway,
it off
back
camera.
to the pale blue eye.
Yeah, back to the pale blue eye. I don't even know how we went down that segue.
You're talking about M Night Shyamalan
Yeah, but
because
how
we
did
were
I end up
talking
talking about M
about
Night Shyamalan?
Harry Melling being the best Harry Potter cast member to do something that separates himself, and then we said Rupert Grint could, but M Night Shyamalan has a lot of misses.
Was Rupert Grint in an M Night Shyamalan movie?
Yeah, he's in a Knock at the Cabin.
Right. Okay, that's how it happened. I
That's how it
mean,
happened.
it's like roots of a tree, and I'm trying to figure out which route we went down when talking about that. So here are the roots. I'm over here. Rupert Grint is oddly enough all the way at the top, the new M Night Shyamalan movie. But again, I'm gonna try not to get that sidetracked. So I don't have much. I already pretty much. I mean, look, the twist is pretty much. It's if you pay attention in the film, the twist is pretty much spoiled in the first scene where Christian Bale is doing something, and you're like,
Okay.
and then as you
Okay.
keep watching, you're like, well, that why was he doing it? Oh, and then you see it, then you're like, well, that's not very clever. Clearly, he was doing something nefarious down there that wasn't explained at any point.
But then at
But
that point, when you see him doing it later, you're like, oh, that was clever, because
mm,
they started the movie off with it. It just completely escaped your brain.
yeah, I'm thinking, why are you washing blood off of your hands in a river? What is that? That's going to come up for another scene, right? While you're doing, and then it doesn't, and you're like,
And then 2 hours
him,
later, you're like,
him. Yep, it's him. Okay, it's him. And
yeah,
yeah, I want to see. I mean, I've already spoiled it at this point, but who fucking cares?
yeah.
I want to
Who
see
cares?
I want to see a detective story. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I'll make that film one day. Although I'm spoiling it here, what my future plans are. So you know what? I'm not going to make that movie
Don't make
until I
that
do
movie.
make that movie. But when I do make that movie, you won't fucking know. So that was about as close to a spoiler review as I could give without directly spoiling it. I'll say I thought it was very well shot. The sense of, even though it wasn't, the film takes place at West Point. They didn't film it at West Point because obviously I don't think you can't do that. Um, I don't remember where they filmed it. It was somewhere. Put on the Whopper music because I have it in my notes here somewhere.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say I was like you, pleasantly surprised. Um, I didn't know what to expect. I heard only good things about the acting. Um, so
British
I,
actors.
like you said, in a more vague term, whatever you think you might know while watching this, you don't, and then you
You
do.
probably do.
You
Your
don't, but
first
then you
instinct, you
realize you probably
probably
do.
right.
Yep. Um,
So it was filmed in Westminster
and
College in New
so there
Wilmington.
was
So it wasn't actually filmed at West Point. Actually filmed very local to here.
and the fact that this movie had two kind of plot twists, big one coming at the very end. I love that. I love how they did that. I kind of saw the first, like the first twist coming with the daughter.
Yeah, I wonder
And
what gave
this,
that away.
yeah, I kind of saw that one coming, and they did a really good um, kind of telling of the plot twist without actually saying it with that picture of the grandfather or the great grandfather or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um, and like when Christian Bale went to the doctor's house and the cameras just started to pan up of the painting, I did the Leo point again, just because like I knew without them telling. I did the ooh,
Yeah, but
Uh,
there is a scene before he goes back to the house where you see that painting.
yes,
And then after, I don't think they really had to do the pan up again. I think it would have
no,
been
you because
more
you see it
rewarding to
during the
people who
you
were
see it
paying
during that
attention beforehand, and
you
they're
see
kind of
it
just
during that
forcing it down
dinner
your throats,
scene.
yep, you saw that. I'm confirming that you saw that. I think it would have been more rewarding if they just rewarded the people who were paying attention, been like, okay,
Correct.
but no,
I
they kind of ram it down your throat at the end, just making sure that you get all of the exposition information. But
um the
it's whatever.
vibes. This movie's vibes are very eerie, dark, and unsettling, which again I like.
Yes, I do love
I
the
love that
atmosphere.
kind of atmospheric tension. Um,
Yeah,
the
specifically
most
one scene in the woods, though. You know, the one scene in the woods with the lantern,
yes,
which is the
yes,
most Edgar Allan Poe-esque, like the Raven, Telltale Heart kind of
yep,
environment that I've seen in a long time in a film. I thought
yep.
that the way it looks great.
That's yes. So
I
that gets
just
into my
wish
next
that it was a little bit. I wish it was smarter than it thinks it is.
yes. So that gets into my next
Especially,
points. The things that I was most impressed with this movie were again the acting, the cinematography. I think the score was fucking great.
scores a banger.
Um, and I mean, fuck, dude, the chemistry between Christian Bale and Harry Melling was like way better than what I thought. Like I could even imagine. Just hearing, oh, Harry Melling's great, Christian Bale's great, but like they're really good together. They're just really good.
Yeah.
Well, they fucking bantered with each other. They were fucking awesome.
But
Like
if I
their
could give,
chemistry was
yeah,
fucking awesome.
if I could give
Um,
one critique on
unfortunately,
the you going me?
no, you go, you go, you
Okay, I just want to give one little critique about the casting, and it's all British actors playing Americans,
go. Uh oh.
and they're all phenomenal. You buy them all as Americans for the most part. The only giveaway that they are British actors playing Americans is a lot of their teeth. You can tell they're
Yes,
British.
yes, they're fucked up teeth.
Yes. All right. Go
Um,
on.
what I thought you were going to say that the fact that Harry Melling kind of slipped in and out of character a couple times with
Yeah,
his
he
accent.
does. He slips into the British accent a few times, but I would say 90% of the time he's living in that southern accent, that southern slippery. snake-like accent. It's just addicting to listen to. That
Um,
southern drawl. I want to see Harry Melling's Edgar Allan Poe and Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc do a crossover. I think that would be an
oh my god, that'd be
eargasm to
so
listen
good.
to.
That'd be
I'd
so
love to
good.
hear that.
So a couple of my final thoughts on this would be,
Oh, I'll get used to
personally,
the mute. I've never muted this before.
I love Harry Melling as Dudley in Harry Potter. So him and Christian Bale, I think they stole the show of this. More so Harry Melling, but unfortunately, all the other shit weighs this movie down a lot. The storyline could have been tighter. It could have been explained more. Could have been well fleshed out. Some character developments kind of sucked. That fucking bully, stereotypical dickhead bully, who plot or fucking spoiler alert dies too. He fucking stunk. The dog.
We're just throwing spoilers into the wind now.
Yeah, but it doesn't really
But fuck
matter.
it.
Fuck it.
Yeah, I don't.
The the
Yeah,
the the, the
but
story the storyline with Christian Bale's daughter that kind of ties everything together. I thought could have been wrapped up a little neater. Could have been fleshed out a little neater. They could have explained more about the fucking clan of these kids. I guess you could say.
where just what letter does that start with? Please
Yeah,
tell me it is a C.
just see.
Okay.
Uh, uh,
Although you
I,
could be
the
bothered with
fucking
some of these people.
the one thing that really fucking bothered me. Oh God, was the oh fuck, I'm blanking on his name.
Is his name Robert Duvall?
Oh no.
Because that's what I
Oh
want to. That's what. Yeah, you do
fuck.
some. Yeah.
Timothy Spall.
Hmm.
Oh god. And every single no, not Timothy Spall. Who the fuck? Hold on. The pale
Are you talking about
the
Toby Jones?
no, the pale blue eye. The captain. That's Timothy Spall, right? Am I
Uh, I
forgetting?
think so.
Yeah. No, not
It's
Timothy
either him or
Spall.
Simon McBurney. Those are the two. Um.
No, I think it was Timothy Spall, another Harry Potter actor.
Hmm.
Wormtail, um, Peter Pettigrew. Anyway,
All right. What
uh,
bothered you about him?
oh my god, dude! Every time every time he was talking to Christian Bale, he was like this the whole time.
I think that
And he was like so angry. Like every time he was talking,
you got to invoke that West Point Academy grit in your face,
he was just
that
so angry,
military might. Yeah.
so mean, and just so like you're like it was a scene where he's like. It was a scene where he's like, I just want to make sure your loyalty lies here, like with us. He's like, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
like you guys are sitting in like your dining room, like relax.
Christian
No
Bale's
reason.
like Christian Bale's like, oh yeah, my loyalty. I'm definitely loyal to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's one
so
thing that this
disgusted by
film.
that the entire fucking
Yeah.
time.
This film does not reflect well on the overall intelligence of West Point Academy when
Hmm.
when you take a
No.
deeper look into um, the who they hired as the medical examiner and who they hired as the detective does not reflect well on them. But the one thing I really didn't like about this film is you remember Robert Duvall's character who they throw in here twice, I think?
Yes.
The old man with the beard the books is
Hmm.
an absolute exposition dump of a character.
Yes.
Every time something needs to be explained, they go to Robert Duvall and he explains it like a video game cutscene.
Want to do a really good job because if you
Uh,
didn't know that was Robert Duvall, you'd have no idea.
I think he was doing I mean Robert Duvall and Scott Cooper. they were co-stars in what was it? It's a war film. So Scott Cooper is an actor turned director. What was it? Gods and Generals, yeah, in 2003, which I'm just looking up now. Oh, Rotten Tomatoes was not a fan of this film.
Yikes.
8%. But whatever, we don't care about Rotten Tomatoes here.
Um,
Jeff Daniels, Stephen Lang, holy
anyway,
shit.
this movie
But
felt
whatever.
like a this movie had a lot of it was a big Tim Burton feel to it.
I actually would have liked to see what Tim Burton would have done with this story. Because I think if there's a director who would be suited for an atmosphere like this and a tone like
It'd be
this, it
him.
would be the director of Sleepy Hollow himself.
Yeah,
That's a good comparison for this film. I think, yeah, I mean, I think now I'm thinking of what would this have been if Tim Burton was at the helm. Johnny Depp probably would have been Christian Bale's character, and I'm sure Helena Bonham Carter would have been in here somewhere.
mhm.
I wonder what that would have been very interesting.
It would
I
have
know
been
he
really
would
cool.
have, yeah. I'm more interested to see what he would have done with the story. I think he would have taken some more risks and made it a lot weirder, which would
Um,
fit the whole mold with Edgar Allan Poe. But I
again,
like I
liked it,
thought it
didn't
was
love
good for
it.
what it was. I wanted to like it more than I did.
Correct.
I think it I think it thinks that it's better than the sum of its parts, but I think it's I think it's fine and it's very beautiful to look at.
Agreed. So what would
And the acting is great.
you put that out of 100?
I'd probably give it a somewhere between a 55 and a 60 out of 100.
Oh,
It's in
okay.
a slightly above average movie.
So I had this at a 76. I put it at
Yeah, but our rating systems are
very
different.
different.
So, I mean, I guess that puts us somewhat in the same area.
Three and a
I
half
would find
stars,
with
three
you.
stars.
Yeah, I would give it. I give
This
it
puts
about
us
three
at
stars.
yeah. This I give this a 3.5 stars. So
I think it's a perfect like snow day movie. Curl up in a
oh,
blanket,
absolutely,
watch a nice, somewhat uh, predictable mystery that for
absolutely.
some reason has Edgar Allan Poe in it. Because I still find
Yes.
kind of odd why Edgar Allan Poe is just have. I know it's based off of another story where Edgar Allan Poe's in it, but it doesn't feel like it needs to be Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, agreed. Um, so those are our two reviews for Glass Onion and The Pale Blue Eye. Now we're going to talk a little bit more
Yes,
about this this movie, which I
two short reviews.
personally
Two
too
fucking
short
short
reviews.
reviews.
Watch this one be like even shorter. Watch this be like the shortest one.
Oh, good luck. Yeah, good luck with that.
So moving on, we got two left. We'll jump right into this. This movie is. I'm going to start off by rating this movie at a 92 out of 100.
All quiet on the
This
Western Front. It must be
this movie
because I know it
definitely
ain't blonde. You
deserves
ain't giving
its
blonde a 92 out
20
of 100.
definitely deserves its Oscar nominations for this year. This
It
movie
earned
is
all of them and still came up short in certain categories.
yep. This movie
But
is a beautiful telling of a young soldier's traumatizing experience during World War One. Edward Berger directs this film in just such a way that
yes,
it makes you uneasy the entire time. You feel like you're right there on the front line. Uh, this gave me a lot of 1917 feels with some of the longer set pieces, the action sets of him running and diving into behind the craters or the sandbags, running through, seeing his comrades getting shot and killed right next to him. It's some of the best set pieces I think I've seen in war epics besides 1917. It's just so fucking beautiful to look at. The script is beautiful. It's acted beautiful. It's a compelling story and a
Mhm.
plot. The sound design is fucking phenomenal. The score is just exquisite. It really makes you feel for what these soldiers went through. Fuck, 100 years ago, and what they've seen and how they are. I mean, like, fuck, this kid was like 17. So
The
it fucks with
forge his
you.
father's hand had to forge his father's signature to get into the army.
Exactly.
But you come to find they didn't even check. They don't care. They just need people.
And this movie's not even in English. And yes, I
I've
get
noticed most of the
the
best movies aren't in English.
the first
Have you
couple
come to
minutes of
notice
the
that?
movie, first couple scenes, you're like, I don't, I really don't really care to see, to watch the film, then have to read. But during the fucking heat of it, you don't even notice anymore because you're like, oh fuck, like this guy. Let me tell
Just
you right now, man,
transcends
this
language.
fucking kid gets his ass beat over and over again, and oh god, this movie's so fucking good.
The award-nominated director Edward Berger. One of the scene, I get a couple different comparisons when I watch this movie. From the first frame, I was reminded of The Revenant. Remember The
In the
Revenant?
woods.
The woods, that slow downward crane shot of all the bodies. Everything's quiet, and then the pot shots start to trickle in.
Mm-hmm.
That reminded me of The Revenant.
Okay,
And
good comparison.
another movie that I mean, obviously 1917, but this is basically the World War I equivalent of, at least in terms of like the violence in the battles and the scale of the battles, to Saving Private Ryan. And I think it says that on Netflix's description box of it. It says 1917 meets Saving Private Ryan. And for once, I think Netflix actually got one of their description boxes right, because
Agreed.
it does have its 1917-esque moments of, especially when it comes to the use of cameras, specifically camera cuts. You
Mhm.
can It's not like most movies, specifically most American movies these days, where the old trick where you count the seconds between each cut. For an American, not all American movies, but like the typical American action movie, you count one Mississippi to cut, one cut, two, one Mississippi cut.
So
In
there's
this
a
movie,
reason they did that. There's
you
a
can
reason they
count to
do that.
fucking, huh?
So there's a reason they do, those cuts.
Yes, it's because most of the people can't do those scenes. They're trying to hide the shitty choreography
That, and it
or
also
just
is to
general laziness.
no, it's to keep us dumb, stupid Americans, um, focused. Because it's to keep our, um, attention. So
You
if it
see, it
changes
distracts the shit
constantly,
out of me. It doesn't
yes.
keep my attention.
Well, if it changes constantly, it's going to be just like a regular person's, just like, how thoughts change through their head or something flashes. You're going to look. We were reading about it. It's a fuck. I forget the term, but it's an actual filmmaking plot technique that or a filmmaking technique that they strategize these cuts on purpose to keep the attention of stupid Americans.
So they're like manipulating audiences to that
Yes,
somehow keeps their attention. I wonder how they came to that conclusion because it
it's
doesn't.
some kind of a
I
math
don't
equation.
enjoy it,
It's some
I
kind of a
guess,
math
but
equation, and I'll
I
find
know
it,
it can
and
be
we'll
done
bring it
well,
up in
and
the
I
next
know it
episode. But
cannot be done well. Specifically, Jason Bourne Ultimatum or
that's all shaky cam. That shaky cam action sequence
Shaky
shit
Cam,
sucks.
but it can be done well.
It can be done well. Like that's
You
some
can
a lot of like
you can piece together the
Denzel
action while
movies
you're
have that
watching it,
shit.
and then you have scenes from like the Taken franchise, like Taken 2, Taken 3, where you have 25 different frames of Liam Neeson climbing one fence.
Yes,
And I'm not a fan of the quick cut shaky cam style, but I think
the
the
Denzel
one
Washington
person who
straight to
does it,
TV
the
movie
one
kind of.
person who does it where you can actually decipher what's going on is Paul Greengrass and the Born Ultimatum and Born Supremacy. Again, I'm not, and I think it works for that film because I mean, Jason Bourne is this. He did even Jason Bourne doesn't know who he is, so everything's kind of chaotic. But it's filmed in a way that you at least know what's going on. Most films, you have no clue what's going on. Films like there's a
What's that Denzel and
some of the
Chris
recent
Pine
Peter
movie?
Berg movies with Mark Wahlberg. I remember
Runaway
Dean and I watched fuck Spencer Confidential.
movie sucks.
Oh, it's terrible, and it had some of the most so me watching Spencer Confidential, you're telling me that there's been research done that that's going to keep my attention. I was maybe for like normal audience members, I don't know, but it doesn't work for me. But anyway, fucking back to All Quiet on the Western Front. I love movies that don't cut, where you can count to up to 5 to 10 seconds, 15 seconds without a cut. I think that for the first, I think every battle sequence has like a 30-second uncut tracking shot. I love stuff like that, where you're not afraid to just let good direction and good choreography play out before you on the screen. And I don't know if you've, this is very faithful to um, the All Quiet on the Western Front, the original novel written after World War One. Have you seen All Quiet on the Western Front, 1930, the first?
No.
Yeah, it's it takes a lot of beats from that one. It also deviates in certain spots in the 1930 version, the black and white version. Paul is a little, Paul is more fleshed out as a character. You see him more participating in uh, going to school pre-war and how they, and there is a scene in this one where the teacher is kind of hyping up all the students to go to war and a great adventure for their the original he's more fleshed out. I appreciate how they deviated in this one because they have to make some changes. That's more of a um Dunkirk approach to the characters where they're all just thrown in, you don't know much about them. And I understand the point of that where it's just, this is just another kid at war who's gonna one of millions who's gonna go out there and die. And I th- I would say this is definitely this is in my top five this year. But
Oh, I
if you
agree.
compare it to the original, I don't think anything's going to hold a candle to the original. But as far as adaptations go, I appreciate that this is in German. The 1931 is not in German. It's British actors who I think were British soldiers during World War One who played the characters in the 1930 version. But this is, you could say, the definitive German version of All Quiet on the Western Front, which is a German origins, which is a German story about the hells and perils of World War One. But I mean, I kind of rambled enough. I'll throw it back to you, and I'll just say I absolutely love this film. I've seen it 3 times now, and I can't. It deserves every nomination that it's getting. Specifically, Edward Berger for direction, which is a fucking crime, but it is what it is. I
I
love
think
this
this movie's
movie, and
fucking awesome.
it's horrific. If I and it's the kind of film I think I could show somebody like my mom who hates films like this, but I think she would be able to appreciate that it's a very poignant and important story to tell. And the fact that it's in German, I think, might be the thing that I like about it the most. Made by Germans, by the people who um, originally wrote All Quiet on the Western Front, a German novel, and then adapted. This is the definitive German version of that. And I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, I think this movie's fucking awesome. Again, I have it a 92 out of 100. It deserves every award, every nomination, all the praise that it gets. Um, Probably one of the best war movies since 1917 or like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I think there's a real. I appreciate the renaissance of uh, World World War One type type of content that's been coming out recently. If have you seen? There's a documentary that came out 2 or 3 years ago from Peter Jackson. It's called "They Shall Not Grow Old." Him and his team basically go back and they recolorize all the all the videos from a World War One archive, and they hire voice actors and sound team, and they fix the frame rates
Hmm.
so that you can basically look back and see all of these real people, all these real soldiers in World War One, and it kind of gives light to all of them. And I think it's a really exceptional documentary. I think it's the best documentary I've seen in the last couple of years. I don't know if you've seen that though. Have you seen that?
No, I
Yeah,
actually
you gotta
have
see it.
that on my list of non films to watch.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really, really good. And
And I
that
love Peter
obviously
Jackson. I love
19.
what Peter Jackson does. I love his style of filmmaking. But then I love that he takes these passion projects like this and puts just as much effort into them as if he was making fucking Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And if you look and see a lot of these filmmakers who are going back and doing this, their family members fought in the First World War. Peter Jackson pays homage to his ancestor. Sam Mendes pays homage to his I can't remember if it's his grandfather or great grandfather. I'm not sure, but like I think this renaissance, this sort of explosion of World War One content that's come out recently. I mean, I'll even throw Battlefield One in there for all of its my second favorite first person shooter of all time, despite all it's a video game. It's not going to be accurate at all, but I think that brought a lot of attention to the World War One genre. 1917 has only gotten more popular since it released like 3.5 years ago. And now All Quiet on the Western Front's getting all this attention. And it's just nice to see because it's like pre I guess 2016, I guess you're so used to all this World War II content. It's nice to see all this attention for the the Great War itself, the war to end all wars, which famously ended nothing. But yeah, I appreciate what this film was, and I mean, as it said that who said there's no such thing as an anti-war film. I can't remember if it was Kubrick. I'll figure that out later. But I think if there's a film that shows the absolute horror of war,
It's this one.
it's this is a horrific depiction of war.
Yeah.
And even like showing uh the political sides of warfare, they're just trying to get this thing finished because they know tens of thousands of people are dying every day. And if there's if there's a film that should be like shown in like history classes, show All Quiet on the Western Front 1930, the original one, show this one, because of all the updated technology, you can really show the brutality of warfare, and it's not fun.
Well,
It's absolutely brutal. And
I think one of the best performances comes back to when you were talking about the political aspect. I think Daniel Bruhl did such a fucking great job in this film as
I feel like
just like
Daniel
a
Bruhl's
dude.
been
Like,
waiting for a role like this. The Inglorious Bastards, and now, boom.
uh, he was he was Marvel, but he did more of a villainous type of role.
That's whatever.
But he was
But
still really good. He's more of like a
he's
sly asshole in that. Whereas
yeah,
in this, he's
he's
just
more
like he's more
desperate,
dramatic and he's more
melancholic
serious.
in this one. He's just a man who's trying to get this war finished and just saying to all of his comrades, just swallow. And that's another theme in this film. People, they're fighting for nothing other than a sense of pride.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, what are you actually fighting for? You have tens of thousands of people dying. You already know the outcome. And he's just a man who is beaten down by the realization that all these people are dying essentially for nothing. I think there's a scene where they say, dying with honor on the battlefield. And Daniel Bruhl gets really pissed off. He says, we need to end this war. These people are dying for nothing.
mm-hmm.
And I think this
And
is as good
he
of an
gives a
anti-war
look.
film as you'll ever see. Good of a
He
war
gives a
film as you'll
look
ever see.
where the it was the French, right? The French side.
Yeah, it's French.
Uh, where the French side guy, he gives his list of demands or whatever right before he signs, and like Daniel Bruhl just like looks at him and just
Yeah.
like signs his name and passes the paper off, and it goes down to the second guy in charge, the second guy in command, and then it goes to like the uh, corporal of like the German war who hesitates to sign it. And Daniel Bruhl just does like a slow head turn and just like leans forward and just like stares at him until he signs the paper.
Brief moment of panic.
Yeah,
You
because the guy
you
just sat
need to
there
sign this.
and him and the other guy just like looked at him like, you better fucking pick that pen up right now.
I don't care what the terms are. We are ending this war before
And then
there's
and
nobody
then he
left in
signs it.
Germany.
He signs it and then like he gives it to the French guy and the French guy just is like, the war is done. Like that's it.
Well,
I
the
was
war,
expecting a handshake, but it was like they just got up, went their
yeah,
separate ways, and then they were like, "All right, we're just gonna fight till 11 o'clock."
the war will be finished on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And of course, there's one more charge
Battles,
for country, and
15 minutes left,
yeah, and then
which
you have
was
you know
so dumb.
a tragedy at the well. It's just that's the stupidity of politics and warfare.
Yep.
For king and country, for honor, but no, these people just want to go home. But that's just not how they see it. I think that's portrayed
That's how
really well in the film.
That's how Paul sees it, and he
And that's
portrays
the
that
difference.
very well.
Paul in the 1930 version actually goes home and is asked to give uh, like a talk to these. He goes home before the war ends in the 1930 version, and he's asked to talk to all these students in a class and tell them about the adventures of war, and then he just He's a beaten down man. He says, "There's nothing glorious about war. You're gonna go and you're gonna die and you're gonna be scared, and there's nothing great about it." And then the professor gets really pissed off and kicks him out. And
Do you see how excited they were
that's,
to just eat a cold piece of bread?
I mean, that's the one thing about this film. It, despite some of the really, really graphic content that might make your stomach turn, it made me starving.
I
The
went
sight of
into
like
my
rotten
kitchen
meat, or
and I just got a roll.
I was so
And then
hungry.
I was like, what? I ripped a piece off of this bread and I ate it. And I was like, I don't even want this. I was like, this fucking movie made me walk into my kitchen, get a piece of bread, and eat it like I was in a fucking trench.
I think it's perfect in the way that it glorifies no aspects of war. It's brutal. It's very, very violent. Specifically, a scene where there are tanks involved and flamethrowers involved. It's like a 15 to 20-minute long scene.
I would
Again,
say I would go
I
to as
think
far
there
as
were
saying
liberties
not
taken. I
even
don't
that
think that scene
scene.
was very accurate, but as far as
I would
getting a
say
point across, A plus.
I would say the worst scene would be after all of that when he is
The
in the little pond, in the little puddle,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just him and the French guy.
that's
Where
another
the guy's
scene from the novel in the 1930 version.
choke
But
or he
it was
stabs him
more. Oh
14
yeah,
times and
it
then
was
watches him
definitely.
choke on his own blood, decides you're going to stop choking on your own blood and shoves his mouth full of dirt and mud, and
I
then
think that's a brilliant scene of just
has
invoking
a
guilt.
crisis, feels bad
Yeah,
about it, and tries to shovel the dirt and mud out of his mouth, off of his face, soaks his rag to try to liquefy the dirt that he just shoved into this guy's throat,
yeah.
just for
There's
him
your
to. Oh, it was so
the
painful to watch, but it was beautiful to see.
1917 moment of the film
Yeah.
where where it's calm. You get the picture of the family off of the dead body and all the information about who this guy was pre-war, and
Mm-hmm. And that's what
at the
really
end of the
makes
day,
you
he's
feel
he
just a guy
died.
with a wife and a kid, and that's what really makes you feel like this movie gives you a sense of what the fuck is war for if all you're gonna do is die.
Well, yeah, the thing about that scene is all this emotion and trauma poured into this one soldier that he stabs to death. He kills multiple people in this film. That's not the only guy that he kills. It's the only time he's given any sort of time to
Give a shit.
think about what he just did to this person. And then after the scene's done, it pans out to this hellscape of a battlefield, and you see hundreds and hundreds of dead bodies. Say, this is all of these people have a family. All of these people could easily be being sobbed over as well.
Yeah.
And what's it all for?
Nothing.
Nothing. What's it ever for? Nothing. Or in some
Nothing.
cases, oil. But mainly our case, it's oil. But
Well, in the lyrics of that song from Edwin Starr, War. What is it good for?
before,
Absolutely nothing.
no,
Again,
not unless it's for the people watching from their high towers. But
I think
it's
this
the
movie
history of man. It will never be changed.
I think this movie's great. And I will keep it in my 92 out of 100. It may fluctuate depending on rewatch and how I'm feeling if I want to change some things, but it's probably going to stay. It's not going to go higher than a 93, and it probably won't go lower than a 91. Um, this movie's so fucking good.
Yeah, one thing I couldn't believe was this was a Netflix production.
Yes,
That shocked me.
this
Which
was a
which was like I was like at the same time I said, okay, Netflix is capable of making
you
producing
people
good films. Again, the majority of them not so good, but this
Red
year
Notice,
there are
Six
do you really give a
Underground,
shit about who gives a fuck? I don't care
Six
enough about
Underground.
Six Underground sucks. Was 6 Underground a Michael Bay? Yeah, that was a Michael Bay movie. It's 20-minute long opening car sequence where the car is dented and then afterwards the dents are gone. But
Yep.
we're not here to talk about 6 Underground. I Part of me is ups. I wish this wasn't a Netflix production because I this would be a theater experience like nothing else.
I
But
think this would be great in like IMAX.
with the current state of going to theaters, and it's a toss up. I can't predict what movies are going to do well anymore. I think Glass Onion probably would have done very well, but
Mm-hmm.
Netflix has the rights to it, so there's not really anything that can be done about that. Um, yeah, I can't really be upset. It's getting all the accolades that it deserves. I would love to see this in a cinema at some point if it does get released. I
Mm-hmm.
missed the window. I don't know if this was released prior to being released on Netflix. I'm sure it was, but I missed my window on that.
Yeah.
But my second favorite score of
The year.
anything that came
Ooh,
out in
the
2022,
year. Yeah.
and probably the best directed film of the year. Interesting.
Crazy that it's not
Interesting that
up there for directing.
he's yeah, I'm sure that has nothing to do with the fact that it's a foreign language film. And but I mean they nominated Bong Joon-ho won everything for Parasite,
That's true.
deservingly so. But I guess the fact it probably all comes down to the fact that this is an adaptation of something that's already been told before.
Mm-hmm.
There was the novel, the 1930 version, the 1979 version, which I have not seen yet. But yeah, this is up there with the most enthralling. This has some of the most graphic battle scenes I've ever seen. Some of them up there with the beach landing from Saving Private Ryan. The tank scene is absolutely brutal.
That's terrible.
And I mean, if ever there was an example of a great film portraying just the graphic and horrific nature of warfare, I would say it's this one, and it has all the benefits of modern technology to show it all off. It is beautiful, horrific, and very, very affecting. And I really, really liked it. And I hope more people watch it.
So you're out of 100 rating for this movie.
9 out of 10. And I don't go that high very often. Solid 9 out of 10, with my average being around a 5 out of 10. So
Wonderful. So this is very high regards. You hold
yes,
this movie very highly.
yes, and I will go to bed believing that Edward Berger was nominated for Best Director and Top Gun Maverick was nominated for Best Cinematography. But c'est la vie, I suppose.
Um,
Um, but yeah, those are my
movie,
thoughts on
which
it. I
was
don't. You're muted. Try again. We get the fuck.
How about now?
Yeah,
Can you hear me now? Does this work?
I can hear you now. This seems to happen around the over 2 hour mark.
No, does this fit now? Am I working now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. So then let's
What did you change?
I changed my audio settings, so I'm not going through my AirPods anymore. Um,
Yeah, this seems to happen around the after like the 2 hour mark.
okay, so then let's do this. Um,
Uh,
I'll just blend them
Interesting.
right in. So this leads us into our
A
final
film that
review.
we likely do not agree on.
Um, you want to talk about an absolute warfare of a movie for me? This movie was just woof. Um, so Andrew Dominic's Blonde, the story of Marilyn Monroe, starring Ana de Armas, Bobby Cannavale.
Fictional story.
Yes, fictional story.
I
Uh,
very important.
God, it
So
was
that
so. All right. Let me clear the old throat here because this is going to be woof. Okay, here we go. Andrew Dominic. What can I say? Um, Yikes. Well, Ana de Armas was not wrong when she said this movie would be very controversial. Um, Blonde completely exposes the, I guess you can quote, character that is Marilyn Monroe. Everything up to her, up until this movie was made, or this book that this movie is based off of was made. Her life was basically an entire mystery. You didn't really know much. Um, However, what I this film does a phenomenal job of, yes, it may be fiction, but it takes you on a journey um through torment and throughout all of the cruelty that this aspiring superstar has endured in her young life.
not Glass Onion. I'll say
What
that.
what did you say? What about it?
It's not Glass Onion.
No, 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 it is not. Um Boy, I think the casting was spot on. I think Ana de Armas played her beautifully. However, God, Marilyn Monroe was such a fucking naive idiot. Oh, she was so dumb. They made her character so dumb in this. And now I don't know if that was, I didn't read the book that this was based off of. Um, so I can't attest to if it's accurate to its source material, but holy fuck,
It is.
a person could not be this stupid. Um, oh God. She did, however, put on a fucking acting clinic throughout this entire movie, whether it be nonstop crying and screaming or um or just calling everyone daddy. this uh oh God, the this movie I think will catapult Ana de Armas into being the next big name in actresses. Um, her her performance in the emotion of the abuse and reliving past trauma through childhood, you can almost feel just sitting watching this movie. Um, she's a fucking superstar. Now the shit of this movie, some of the shit, like I said Marilyn Monroe. There's no way she's that dumb. Some of the shit was so fucking over the top. Like, I don't need all these CGI cut scenes or the CGI fucking shots of her fetus that she talks to. Um, I don't I don't need to see I don't need to see a fucking extreme close up of her fucking giving John F. Kennedy the sloppy top. Um,
Yeah, but what do you actually see?
I, I, I see right up to her lips, and I see her hands go like that. Like, I don't need to see that. I get what she's doing. I also don't need to see a POV shot of from the inside of her fucking vagina during an abortion. I don't need to see that. Um, God, some of the creative decision making put my brain in a goddamn blender. Um, and I almost felt like I was having a nightmare. Like she was having this entire movie. I felt like this was my nightmare watching this from the brain of Marilyn. Like I was watching her nightmare through my own nightmare. Um, every single one of her husbands, I think she called daddy 40 times.
Not quite 40, but we
Uh,
get you get the point.
it's like the Cuzzo of Avatar. It was daddy in this film, which don't
Well,
get me
I
wrong.
can I
Ana
can
de Armas is
just
calling you
bro
daddy. I
and
get it.
cuz way more in Avatar, and
Uh,
I can say that bothered me a lot more in that movie.
it was
But
just
we're not
very
here to
cringy.
talk about Avatar. I'm not going down another fucking Avatar rabbit hole.
It was just very cringy. The dialogue throughout the rest of the movie, I felt was also very cringy. Um, from beginning to end, from the opening scene with the mother, um, to the end. Hot take alert. I felt the most sympathy for Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's
I mean,
which is not good because if you know anything about the real life, he was an asshole and he
not
was
the
a
most
loser,
stand-up guy in the
and
world.
he's not. But this movie made him feel like God, like she did him wrong.
What exactly made you feel that?
I, well, okay, not towards the end when he was drunk
After
and was
which
hitting her.
particular beating did you feel bad for him?
It was the first part before that. It was before the beating part.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
but again, I think his casting was another A+ casting. I think the casting in this movie was A+. I think that this movie just stunk.
Okay.
I'm not even going to tell you what I rated it. I just think it's not good. And it was
What did
so
you rate?
fucking long. It was so fucking long.
It was a very long movie. What did you
God, this
rate it?
movie was like 4 hours long. I rated this like a 19 out of 100. God, I did not enjoy this movie at all.
Is that your letterbox review?
That is my letterbox. That is a lot of my letterbox review. I will,
Hmm,
God, if I could rate this not applicable, I would have, because I almost turned this movie off twice.
interesting.
God, I just did not like it. But I'm curious to see what you have to say.
Well, I think like most of
Did you take your journal out? Did you take your fucking diary out? You have fucking pages of notes.
mm,
No, you do.
I
You?
wouldn't call it
Is
I
that
wouldn't
what
call
you're?
it a diary.
Do you have
No, I
pages of
just
notes?
let's see here.
Oh, God.
No, not really. Just talking points. But I feel like
You
these
flipped the page 3 times.
I flipped the same page once
Okay. Oh,
and
good.
make it look like there are more than one pages.
Fuck. Okay.
I feel like this conversation is going to be a lot like the reception of the movie. You either love it or you hate it. We know you hated it. I neither loved nor hated it. I'm somewhere in the middle, probably somewhere between good and great. I did not get the same reception that you did. But before all that, I think we need to address the all of the people who are treating this as a biopic, which it clearly is not, and it doesn't lie about, or as Benoit Blanc would say, it does not engage in mistruthing.
No,
about what it
this is
is,
just Andy
like some
Dominic's
other movies that I
softcore
have.
porn version of Marilyn Monroe.
You see, I wouldn't even say that because if he was going to make it a softcore porn, he could have done a lot more than he did. I think he actually tends to cut away and do some interesting stuff with the camera too that I haven't really seen in a mainstream film that I want to commend Chase Irvin for, who did the cinematography for. One thing I will say about this film is the way that it's filmed. I haven't really seen anything like it before. It is very much filmed in this very hypnotic way where you feel like there are
Like a trip.
things that are out of focus. There are distorted faces. Dreamlike, nightmare-like stuff that I haven't seen done in a film before. And Andrew Dominic he's an experimental filmmaker. I don't know if you've seen uh, his previous films like Chopper or Killing Them Softly or The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. He does a lot of interesting stuff. He makes a lot of interesting stylistic decisions. But one thing I will say for all the people out for all the people out there, mainly the people sending death threats to Andrew Dominic and Ana de Armas uh, for stealing Viola Davis's Oscar nomination for The Woman King. I mean, the
Which
hypocrisy
which
there is
didn't happen.
absolutely.
Which did not happen. Because
What
this
didn't
movie
happen?
was not nominated.
No, but she was nominated.
Yes.
Yes, and Viola Davis was not nominated for The Woman King, which look, the omission of two African American actresses was, one of them was justified because that at least makes me believe somebody did their research on The Woman King. But Daniel Detweiler should have been nominated for sure over probably Michelle Williams or Andrea Riseborough. I don't know how the hell she got nominated, but that's a different story. But one thing I will say in this age of biopics, by the numbers biopics that we're seeing, 2, 3 biopics a year, Elvis, Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man, actually, which I actually did like. I like that they made that a musical. I'm a big fan of um,
Weird
Dexter
Al.
Fletcher as a director, who actually came on after Bryan Singer for Bohemian Rhapsody after he got booted for his allegations
Mhm.
and pretty much saved the production there. And then after that, he went on to make Rocket Man. So, but anyway, I got kind of off topic there. The
Biopics.
age of the biopic. We pretty much know what to expect from biopics at this point, right? You get it's basically an underdog story. You get your character who has these superhuman ambitions. They're faced with hardship and they overcome the hardship and they win in the end. Pretty much every biopic is following the same formula. One thing that I will admit is I am very, very sick of watching biopics. Even though this is not a biopic, I think I would much rather watch something like this than, say, a Bohemian Rhapsody or an Elvis. I was so bored by those. And the one thing that I will say that this movie does is it does not. If you know, it's kind of like a Shakespearean tragedy. You know the story of Marilyn Monroe. You know where this is going. There's a predestination from the get-go. There is no underdog story here. She's not going to overcome the odds and beat the world. You're very much going to see what happened to Norma Jean in real life. But wait, what happened to Freddie Mercury? Another untimely death there, but he overcame the odds in Bohemian Rhapsody, and I was nominated for all sorts of stuff. So, good for that. But it Blonde doesn't try to save her in any way. It's very much telling you this fictionalized chronicle, which may not be all that far off from some of the things she actually experienced. And there is this jarring destination at the end that we all know that we're going to, and you're seeing all this play out
You're seeing her downfall.
with the ending in, she's going to die by the end. And the film is showing you what she goes through in that process that leads her to that destination. But I think the thing that pisses me off the most is you saw the movie the whole way through, right? You weren't on your phone at all. You were paying attention. You didn't fall asleep at any point. Okay.
No, sir, I
Here's
suffered
the thing
through
that pisses me off about what most people are saying about this film. Just hating on it, saying it's the most deplorable thing they've ever seen, the worst film ever made, who have not seen the film, who are just copying what other people are saying. It's just been kind of, and the fact that it's in. One other thing I'll say is it's an NC-17 film that has really, I think it's NC-17 for the
the
shock value of it being NC-17. There's really nothing in here that warrants an NC-17 rating. It is a hard R movie, I will say that. This is not something that you should let your kids see, but
We're
I
watching
think
parents.
because it's NC-17, um, you can't really market that. I don't think you can legally market an NC-17 movie to the public. So it's kind of dumped on Netflix and buried in polarizing reviews and controversy and whatnot. And one thing that I did, I wanted to do a little test online. So I went on some page that had some post about Blonde, and um I replied to somebody saying that it was the worst film they'd ever seen, and I asked them, "What did you think about the scene where her dog dies?" And they said, "I thought it was absolutely horrible. I can't believe that they included all these scenes in there." If you watch the film, that's not a scene in the movie. The dog doesn't die in the movie. And I'm not saying this is that everybody commenting on this film hasn't seen the movie. I will say I think most of the people commenting haven't seen the movie, or the people who say I watched 15 minutes and turned it off. Is there really anything in the first 15 minutes that's so deplorable that you have to turn it off?
The
It's
first
dark for
15
sure.
minutes. The first
It's
15
dark.
minutes was just the scene of her as a child.
It's just, yeah, it's her as a child and her schizophrenic mother. There's a scene where she holds her underwater. But I mean, I'm not out here watching um a Serbian film.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the first. And also people criticize, like, the same people who are throwing these vaguely racist comments around, saying I turned it off after 15 minutes because I couldn't stand Ana de Armas's accent. If you watch the film, he doesn't show up until about 20 minutes into the film. So I have it just makes my blood boil when I think about the people who haven't seen the film, who just taught, and this doesn't just revolve around this film. This is all films. If you haven't seen something, just don't talk about it because you have no agency to speak. But I think I got a little more sidetracked than I would have liked there. But I guess I'll keep chugging through. And one thing I will say about you mentioned that they present her as being very naive or very stupid in this film. And to a point, I will agree with that. That's something that's adapted right from the book. Although in the book, I believe it's she's made to look dumber in the book. But I think the main thing is throughout this film, it's not that she's dumb or naive, it's that she doesn't have any other options. She has no real agency over anybody. She's essentially Norma Jean Baker's gone. Marilyn Monroe is
On her way.
not a person, and that she's essentially a very valuable property. They're not. Nobody wants the best for Norma Jean Baker. They're fighting over.
Yeah, you're right.
They're fighting over her as a property.
She's basically an IP address.
They're trying to buy the property of Marilyn Monroe. And there are many scenes in the film where she is standing up for herself. There's a scene where, she's on the phone with the agency.
Yeah.
And she is going over how much money she's going to make for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. She's going to be the blonde in that film. And she's let know that she's going to be paid less than Jane Russell in the film. And she basically says, fuck you, and hangs up. And there are a lot of scenes like this where she's constantly just fighting for some kind of power. And that's the other thing about this film. I don't think it's not a film that's about Marilyn Monroe. And you can, ask the moral questions of is it okay to make something like this, where it's more about the overall conversation of the times and misogyny at the time. And the 1950s world of cinema is not as shiny and the
golden as
it's not the golden age of cinema that you think it is. Like there are some despicable things that happened back then just do a little bit of research. But seeing some of the comments about the Woman King, people don't do research, and that's the problem. And I think that's another one of the things that this film presents that makes people uncomfortable, and they're not used to seeing stuff like there's a character named Mr. Z who sexually assaults Marilyn Monroe. Everybody says it's a despicable, disgusting scene to include in a film. I think you're missing the point there. It's the fact that Mr. Z does happen. It's ugly, but it's real. And in real life, Harvey Weinstein does happen. It happens today. You can try to ignore it all you want, but it's there. It's plainly in front of your eyes. And I don't know, I've seen a lot of movies this year, but this one, I haven't thought about a film after watching it as much as I've thought about this one. And just, I don't know if there's been a more misinterpreted film released this year than this one.
And that's something that I give credit to this movie.
I haven't scratched the surface yet. I haven't really talked about anything, but I could probably talk about this film for 10 hours if I really wanted to deconstruct everything. But I'm not going to get to all of that because it would be way too long video.
One of the things I respect this movie for a lot is the fact that it's so controversial. It gets people talking, discussing it. And like you said before, like it doesn't, like everyone
can have their own opinions, and it's the beauty of filmmaking, especially with such a diverse topic and source as this movie, is that it brings all that stuff out in like just one watch.
That's one thing that I watched a video on one of the few positive videos on this film by a YouTuber named Caleb Gammon. He's a New Zealand YouTuber. He said one of the things that this film does, it attacks the audience for your ownership of Marilyn Monroe. You don't you don't know Norma Jean. You have no ownership over her, and it attacks you for feeling defensive about that. Like, well, you didn't care before, so I guess task failed successfully, I guess, on part of the film, because it's got everybody talking and defending Norma Jean. But I think people are just they're getting the wrong interpretation from this film, calling it one of the things that drives me up a wall is everybody calling this like super exploitative when this came out at the same time as another thing Caleb Gammon brought up in his video. This came out, sort of near the Woman King. That's I mean, I don't need to say anything else about the Woman King that I haven't said already, but something else that came out around this time was a mini series called Dahmer, which
Yep.
was showered with
Praise.
heaps of praise. At this house, we had trick or treaters dressed up with blonde wigs and big glasses, talking with these Dahmer accents. And I didn't give them any candy. I closed the door. Whether or not that makes me a monster, that's a different story. But I mean,
Don't
the
come to your
fact,
houses
like,
anymore.
just the fact that they came out with this mini series without informing any of the families, they re-traumatized the victims, but it's getting nominated for all this stuff. It's winning all these awards, and it's been renewed for another season. I think this one's with John Wayne Gacy. And I think this whole film is it's a punching bag for exploitation. I think the idea of this film is so against the idea of exploitation that people just I don't know if they just don't see it, or more predictably they just didn't watch it and they're just saying things. But the thing that this movie does that I think makes people so uncomfortable and angry is most films will bring you along for the ride. You're watching the characters interact with other characters and progress through the story. What this film does is it's a basically a first person shooter. It puts you in the shoes of Norma Jean. And whatever she's feeling, you're feeling. Whatever she's going through, you're going through. So obviously, it is going to be
Controversial.
a very, very souring experience, a very melancholy experience, a depressing experience, some ways a horrific experience. I think this film is closer to it has a lot of psychological horror aspects to it. There's one scene in particular where I mean there's a scene that involves night vision that it reminded me of Silence of the Lambs in some ways. And there are scenes like that in the film scattered throughout. There's not enough of them that you can classify this as a psychological horror film, but I think it's definitely a psychological drama with horrific aspects attached to it. But I think the idea of putting the perspective so close to Marilyn Monroe, and here's the thing about the film: you don't see that much of Marilyn Monroe. It's mostly behind the scenes.
Yes, no, there's maybe throughout the whole 3 hours and 30 minutes of this movie,
2 hours and 35 minutes of actual movie.
25 minutes maybe were clips of actual Marilyn Monroe, and maybe 10 minutes of that is the iconic scene of her walking over the grate, and that's only because it's slowed down. Everything else is her personal life and Norma Jean's traumatic downfall and her spiral out of control and what inevitably leads to her death, because of just the weight of everything that she's experienced, pressure and just not being able to cope with I guess being a superstar or coping too much, if that makes sense, or everything bad that can happen to a young girl trying to make it on her own with no experience, no guidance, no help happens, and that can fucking kill someone, and it does.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the main themes of the film, whether you buy into it or not, is this search for a father figure throughout the whole film. That's where the whole daddy trope comes from, and I do think it's overused in times for sure. But um, I think it's this fact that you're presenting this young this young woman in a world that is ripe for a young woman who becomes the most famous, arguably the most famous person in the world at the time, in a world where those types of people are taken advantage of regularly. And she's trying to find this father figure throughout, and everywhere, at every point, she's being exploited, whether it's a studio head or a boyfriend or
Husband.
an abusive husband. It's essentially she's treated as property throughout the film, which I mean is accurate. It's not comfortable to watch, but it again isn't a biopic.
And
There's no mountain to climb here. This is a spiraling staircase of this is where she's going to end up, and this is why she's going to end up here. And it's because of societal forces at play. Again, what this film does is she was a very accomplished comedic actor as well as dramatic actor. And a lot of people are saying they didn't show any of her comedic talents in the film. Well, where exactly are you going to fit those in such a dark and bleak film?
Yeah, do you want to fit the
a lot of
in
yeah,
before behind being raped or abused?
yeah,
or,
there's nowhere that you can put something like that. A lot of stuff here is look, we imply that she can do good comedic work, but we can imply that she was smart too. But the tone of this film, you can't put stuff like that in here, or it is going to, like, two opposite magnets, two opposing ends of magnets going at each other. You just can't put that in there. But I think,
I put in my review that this movie, while watching it, it almost felt like I'm watching a nightmare from the brain of Norma Jean.
and it's very much
And it,
filmed like that too.
and that's why I think they did it like that. It's filmed of um trippy and in and out of memories, and almost like it's you almost like this is she's reliving everything on that bed when she's dying. Everything's flooding back into positive memories, bad memories, traumatic memories. All this stuff is just happening over and over and over as her final thoughts. And that almost feels like you're watching her final run through of her life.
Yeah, and that ending scene fucked me up for a little while. I could not stop thinking about that final shot. But one, and the way that this movie was filmed, it reminded me a lot of David Lynch. I don't know how many David Lynch films you've watched, but um, one, like, the striking resemblance to Fire Walk with Me from David Lynch. There are so many different directing styles used in this, that go from, like, I got some Hitchcock, David Lynch, used some Darren Aronofsky with the cameras, like, mounted to the person as they're walking around. Uh, a lot of I got a lot of Vertigo. I didn't get Vertigo, but the film Vertigo reminding me of. You may I may, probably actually did get Vertigo watching this. A lot of Rear Window, some North by Northwest vibes too. There's so many different, like, especially, like, early on when visiting the mental hospital when she visits her mother. I think there's a crash zoom, and then there's kind of like the Disney dissolving shot where it goes into this little circle and then it all disappears.
Mhm.
There's some shots like that. I mean, Twin Peaks is I was really reminded of Twin Peaks watching this. Requiem for a Dream is a huge one. Both the way that a lot of it was filmed reminded me of Requiem for a Dream, and also, I mean, tonally very, very dark.
Mhm.
It's I don't think I've ever seen a film that was meant to be this sort of hypnotic and dreamlike. I think if ever there, like, other than some David Lynch films, it's like you're watching a dream play out
Yeah.
for
A
2 hours and 40 minutes,
You're watching a nightmare
which I do think
of
it is.
this woman.
I do think it is too long, but again, with it being too long, with it being as long as it is, I think everything that they wanted to there's nothing missing here for sure. But I think the thing that I most people are angry about is, how can you treat Marilyn Monroe like this? But, well,
That's Hollywood,
it's
baby.
essentially, well,
Showbiz.
no, it's the opposite of Hollywood. It's the humanization of somebody.
Yeah.
They're shown. We like to think of Marilyn Monroe as this godlike figure, um this Hollywood icon, but we like to brush over the fact that, well, she died at 36 years old of an overdose. We like to never mind the fact that her mother's a schizophrenic, and that there was literally nobody in her life. But this is the most human version of Marilyn Monroe that I've seen, uh, And I think the focus on Norma Jean just emphasizes that.
This movie this movie expresses the theme of like um even the most even the most uh famous or influential people, they still have insecurities and skeletons just like you,
It reminds me a lot of
where you can put this person on the highest pedestal and think they are basically, like you said, God, but you pull that curtain back and this is just nothing but torture.
and it's very, very dark to watch. But I don't think that it's just, you know, dark and fucked up for the sake of it being dark and fucked up. I think there's legitimately something trying to be said here about the times that she was subject to, and the fact that even arguably the most famous person in the world had no control over her own life and the decisions that she was able to or not able to make. And I think it just, the one feeling that I had while watching this was it kind of, it almost makes you feel guilty for watching the things that she is going through. And the one thing that I've heard a lot of people say, you call it what was it, trauma porn?
Soft it was a torture porn.
Yeah, torture porn. Well, the thing about the thing about porn is there's enjoyment to be gotten out of porn, or there's supposed to be. With torture porn, let's think of what, like any Saw movie after the first Saw movie, the Hostel movies. You're going there to watch. You're going there to watch people get cut up and to enjoy it. I don't think there's enjoyment to be had from watching any of this. There are there are a couple of scenes in the film where you are supposed to be happy for her marriage to Arthur Miller, the first stages of that, um the three-way relationship uh with Eddie G and Charlie Chaplin Jr. There are times where it's shown in a happy, almost, like it's okay, it's okay to look, it's okay to admire the beauty. And then the rest of it, it's not romanticized at all. This the throwing up into a airplane toilet. I mean, some of the topless scenes, even, um, specifically the one where I think she might be uh, on drugs or on drugs, having a panic attack, and then her makeup artist has to show up at her house and turn her into Marilyn Monroe again, and she's just sweating bullets. That was that was a scene that sent shivers down my spine. Kind of reminded me of Psycho a little bit, where she's waiting for Marilyn to arrive, and he's putting her face on, saying, she's coming," and then almost this possession scene. She looks into the mirror, and then the Marilyn smile appears. And made my hair stand up. And there's just scene there are scenes in this film that I have to applaud for, taking risks and not doing the generic, Hollywood thing of romanticizing everything. Not everything has to be romanticized. Not everything should be romanticized. Sometimes you need to have a Freudian type of a nightmare, especially for a film like this, where I think, I mean, Freud definitely is, or the Freudian slide, the Freudian slip, I think it's called. I don't know. But just the ideas of uh, sort of a Freudian horror, psychological horror. They, I think they can come off as being kind of um, douchey in other films, but I think in this one it worked well when you look at what, like, her mother's schizophrenic. Obviously, some of those things are going to carry over, and there are things subconsciously that are um kind of fueling how she acts without her noticing, which is, I mean, which is Freudian. But there's it's very, I'm usually good at breaking down movies, but when I'm talking about this movie, I can go down 20 different rabbit holes for every point I'm trying to make, because I think there's so much to unpack here, and I think it deserves better than to just be dumped on Netflix and shit on by 75% of the people who haven't watched the movie. But I mean, that's my take for now. It's just rambling and unorganized thoughts going through my head. Um,
See, and
maybe I'll put something more organized together in the future. I don't know,
you
but
make a lot of good points and ways that I didn't quite think of the deeper meanings and stuff like that. But to counter,
I get why a lot of people hate this film, and I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just
no,
trying to give them a
my
different
my point of
perspective.
what I was just saying was what also kind of what you were saying. People shit on this film without actually watching it fully. People are shitting on this film and being like, "Oh, I turned it off 45 minutes in because I just couldn't finish it. This fuck this movie." Whereas this kind of goes back into last week's rant. I watched this movie fully, one like all the way through without taking a break, and I still wasn't a fan of it.
Which
So
is perfectly fine.
don't shit on it when you've like only watched 25 minutes of it. Where like
I've seen the same thing said about the opposite situation for the Fablemans. People who haven't seen the Fablemans saying it's the greatest thing they've ever seen, which to a lot of people it might be. I've seen. I do think it's a good movie. I don't think it's the film that we've been waiting 45 years for Steven Spielberg to make. That was one of the headlines. It's no. If you want to see great, if you want to see like the origin story of Steven Spielberg done to perfection, watch E.T.
yeah.
But well, we'll talk about Fablemans next week. But it's just the thoughts of a rambling lunatic. Uh, maybe that's why I resonate with this film.
Because you are also
Maybe I'm a lunatic.
this movie is also a rambling lunatic, and
I mean, it's jarring. It's in parts unorganized. It's very much like a dream. Not everything is perfect. Not everything is aligned the way that it would be in the context of making traditional sense. But
that's you. That's your brain.
I mean, look, I am one of the few that resonated with this movie, and I think it's a lot better than what people are saying. But form your own opinions on it. If you hate it, that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to change your opinion on it. And if you got something out of it and you want to talk further, then we can talk about it because I could talk about this movie for forever. I mean, I didn't even get into the score, which is my favorite score of the year,
I think this.
by
I
the
think the
way.
score of this movie
By
was really good.
Yeah,
I
Nick
think it's
Cave and Warren.
really,
Yeah,
really good.
Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, who Andrew Dominic did a documentary on Nick Cave and Warren Ellis a few years ago. Damn it, what is it called? He's done a couple documentaries. One before this was called One More Time with Rhythm, I think. Um, that's not the one though. It's yeah, This Much I Know to Be True, which was that came out this year. Okay, it came out almost a year ago today. It was 2022. But I watched that before I watched Blonde. There's another documentary you should watch with They Shall Not Grow Old. This Much I Know to Be True. It's really good. But I've listened to this. I've listened to this score. This has kind of become one of the things that like background music when I'm doing something. I'll just throw this on. I think it's I think it's incredible. I think it's the best score of the year. Second, I definitely give that to All Quiet on the Western Front. Although one thing we talked about last episode, I thought I mean the reaction to the blonde kind of disqualified it from getting nominated for anything other than Best Actress, which I mean, awesome for Ana de Armas. That's great. The fact that through all this negative press, she was still able to get nominated for everything. But I would have loved to see the score and the cinematography get nominated because I Chase Irvin, who was the cinematographer for this film, I think Andrew Dominic gave him like one note card with one word that just said nightmare. And I think I haven't seen a film that has looked like this because it looks so many different ways.
Yeah.
But I just think it works. And maybe this will be, I don't know if this is going to be revisited down the road,
This
kind of like Fight Club was, kind of panned and bombed, and then it found its audience years later, or Blade Runner. I don't know.
this movie is
I
a
hope it
perfect
does.
definition of art is subjective.
Very, and I love that term, and I think this film perfectly encapsulates that. I think the all the talk of this being the worst film ever made and
I,
absolutely disgusting
just
is
because I didn't like this movie, I can't agree with like statements like that.
yeah, exactly.
Like
You don't have to like the movie.
let me show you the worst movie ever made. Have you ever seen Norm of the North?
Hmm.
Have you ever seen Vampire Suck?
Have you ever seen Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Yeah, have you ever
No,
seen
actually, that movie's awesome. I won't even include that. That
seen
movie's awesome.
Hansel and Gretel Vampire fucking something? What's the one I'm
Is that the
thinking of?
one with Jeremy Renner?
Yes.
Yeah, that movie was
Witch Hunter,
terrible. There was another one after that called
Hansel and Gretel,
Gretel and Hansel,
the
which was
Witch Hunters.
actually pretty
Oh,
good.
wasn't it just called um
There's been so many made recently. I'm not really sure.
oh, it was Hansel versus Gretel?
Oh God, that doesn't sound great. That sounds like Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Good God.
Oh, Gretel and Hansel came out in 2020.
Yeah, it's a smaller art house type film.
Yeah. Ugh. It only made $22 million in the box office.
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
What was its budget? I think it was really low. Almost like an A24 budget.
Gretel and Hansel.
One of those movies where there's
5
no
million.
5 million. Okay, so it did well.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
But
there was Snow White and the Huntsman. There's all these stupid shit like that.
yeah,
These are let me show you some. These are some of the worst movies I ever made.
shit like this that I would much prefer to watch Blonde over movies like that.
Yeah.
I would rather feel something than be bored out of my fucking mind for almost 2 hours. And you might be bored by this. I don't know. But I guess I will close my closing thoughts on this film by saying, I don't know, let's finish this here. I haven't seen, as far as technical elements go, I haven't seen Technicolor in certain scenes look like it was like taken straight out of the 60s than certain scenes, especially the first scene when we meet Adrian Brody's Arthur Miller out on the street. I thought that was a scene taken right from the 60s.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for black and white too, and there's quite a bit of black and white in this film. And
I would say it's more cream and gray.
yeah, it's got a lot of those, like the imperfections, like you see the hairs on the lenses, and it's not squeaky clean. It's not meant to.
Mm.
By the end of this film, I was left feeling as empty as Norma Jean. So I think this is more of a tragedy. If I were to put this in a genre, or most films are put in two genres: action, adventure, drama, romance, whatever. I would say tragedy, psychological drama, I think, would be the best way I could describe this film. Two genres that you don't see connected very often, but I don't know. I got a lot out of this movie. A lot more than I get out of most movies anyway. And obviously none of this works if this central character doesn't work, and Ana de Armas does a fucking fantastic job. If she didn't work, none of this would have worked. So I think this is way better than what most people out there will tell you, and I would recommend you watch it for yourself and form your own opinion. It's pretty much just what I say every time I bring up Rotten Tomatoes. Don't listen to the reviews. Just formulate your own opinion. If you hate it, fine, perfectly fine. And if you love it, awesome. And that's it.
Yeah.
Close the book.
Close the notebook. Yeah, look, just form your own opinion. Just watch the movie. That's all. Like, we're not here to tell you to not watch movies or watch movies. We're here to we just talk about movies, right? We're just here to fucking.
Yeah. I'm definitely here to tell you to watch movies. Definitely watch movies. Definitely don't not watch movies.
Definitely go
because a lot of movies can suck, but a lot of movies are really good. Like some of the ones we talked about today.
Yeah, but some of the movies that suck are worth watching, because then as much as we shit on like Vacation 2015, we couldn't shit on that movie if we didn't see it. And it's fun to shit on that movie. It's fun to shit on a lot of movies, which means it's
also
good.
A fun movie to put on at a party or something.
Yeah.
Even if I'm rolling my eyes the whole time.
Yes. Like these movies, like they're
put on Norm of the North. Fucking mute it.
Yeah,
Voice the characters yourself. Get, like blackout drunk. It's a great time.
yeah.
Or
Get
watch a great poignant movie and cry.
get really
I
high.
love crying during a movie.
Get really fucking high and watch something like The Hungover Games or Vampires Suck, where he's running through the woods like a vampire, but he's on a Segway.
Probably movies that were meant to watch while you were high anyway.
Yeah.
So, fucking kids, get drunk, get high, and watch movies.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do. And
Put that on a t-shirt.
and then well that'll be our
And
first.
remember to put out your cigarettes when you're done smoking them, kids.
Yep.
That's important. That's a line from Psych. I stole, by the way.
And we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
For
Next week
more-
we'll have a 4-hour long episode. They just getting longer.
They're just gonna get longer and longer.
They're just
It'll
we've
be
been
about
here for over 3 hours.
it'll be about whatever
But-
we want it to be about. Maybe we'll do a couple reviews. We'll figure that out between the two of us. Don't tell me what to do. And you're just gonna fucking listen. And if you don't listen, then we're just gonna quit. I don't fucking.
Yeah, Kevin, don't tell us what to do.
Yeah. So
It's pretty much our whole audience, but
until next time, I hope you enjoyed our reviews. Check out our letterboxes. Zach, did you ever get yours up and running
I
yet?
haven't started it yet.
Get that up and running.
I'll start it at some point. Probably between next episode and the episode after that. Because I had a bad case of
That I don't feel like
food,
it.
food poisoning. I had food poisoning like a day ago.
Oh,
That's some bad meat.
So
Probably won't be tomorrow.
we'll do that.
I'll start it at some point.
We'll talk about, I don't know, other shit. I'm watching a new show that we could get into and probably watch some movies and talk about all that fun shit. So until that, go watch a movie, go get high, and put your cigarettes out when you're done smoking them.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time.
Watch your movies. If somebody doesn't like a movie you don't like, if somebody doesn't like a movie you like, who cares? Doesn't matter. Your opinion is as valuable as anybody else's.
Spit in their mouth and punch them in the face.
Yeah, kids.
All righty.